Welcome to this week's episode of the Dirt Subies podcast. We have an absolute heater for you this week. We got Brandt Kayser on the podcast. If you follow him on Instagram, he goes by Jackie Roo. He's a very thoughtful dude and very knowledgeable. I wasn't sure if this would be something that he'd really be interested in doing, but he came on and decided to kind of lay out his build and sort of share how he was able to take like a grandma grocery getter and turn it into an absolute trail machine. And he has done some crazy things in that car. Like, I absolutely am shocked every time he puts out trail footage. Before we get into that, I need you to do me two favors. Number one, if your real estate agent absolutely sucked and the only thing they could find for you was a rock and you've been living under that and you have not yet heard of the Subi and You podcast, make sure that you are following that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. Raf's just got a ton of episodes over there for you to binge. There's like over 200 episodes. So go check that out. Actually, I was on his show recently. I'm episode number 219. So you can check that out. And then also, if you're watching on YouTube and you're not yet subscribed to the channel, or if you are listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or another podcast platform, if you could do me a favor and follow the podcast, and then if you're really feeling generous, leave a review. That would be the sickest thing ever, and it would make my 2026 just absolutely fantastic. Let's go ahead and jump into this interview. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Okay, real quick though, I got to make sure I get this right. Is it Kayser? Is that your last name?
It is. I'm so proud of you for knowing that.
Well, I thought about it and I was like, I bet this guy gets Kayser all the time.
All the time.
And that's probably not even remotely right. So we got Brandt Kayser on the podcast today. And what is your Instagram? Can you let everybody know?
It is Jackie _Roo, ROO, just Jackie Roo.
Hit him with the double underscore, brother. I love that. I am super stoked to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We've never talked before. I mean, maybe we've exchanged comments. I got a bunch of different Instagram accounts that are related to Subarus, so I'm sure we've actually conversed, but this is my first time meeting you. And you've probably got one of the most capable Subarus in the United States that's not been converted to a different platform.
I've been building it for my needs as I go.
I love it. Before we jump into anything else, man, let me just ask you to kind of give us a rundown of what's on the car.
Oh my God, I have a whole spreadsheet going here.
Well, dude, let's go top to bottom, brother.
All right, well, let me pull it up here so I can actually get a full list going. On my Instagram bio, I've got the link to this spreadsheet that I've been using. I put links in there and everything so folks can find all this stuff.
I saw that. It's a Google Doc, right?
Just Google Sheets. So tires are Toyota Open Country AT3s in 225, 75, 15. The wheels, one of my favorite things on there, these are European Audi Pepper Pots, the 2003.
Pepper Pots.
Yeah, man, Pepper Pot Posse. No, they're great. They're only 12.7 pounds each. And I mean, imported, even with like the import fee, which is like 100 or 120 bucks or so, they go for 20 euros over there. I don't know what that is conversion wise, but I got a set of 5 of them delivered to my door for 700 bucks.
Dude, let's go. And I'm so glad you mentioned that early on, because that's one of the things I was going to ask you about, was to just kind of talk about the Pepper Pots. But you said 12.5 pounds?
12.7. So
that's all people need to know.
I know, right? So that plus those tires, which they're like 28.3 inch tires, it's only 1.6 pounds heavier than the stock wheel tire setup. And it is noticeable.
Did you have any issues? I mean, I know there's a lot of hammering involved and some trimming. Did you have any? No, not at all.
No. Well, I have those WRX alloy lower control arms. So they move the front wheels forward by 3/8 of an inch.
No kidding.
I don't know what the name for this part is, but the little stub that bolts onto the back of the LCA going into the bushing, if you flip that over and rotate it about its axis, like take those 2 bolts off and flip it over and then bolt it back in, allegedly it gives you another half degree of caster. I don't know how much more that helps. So I've been told. I've never measured it, but I did that. The only kind of trimming I had to do was just trimming the fender liner over the pinch weld. All of my pinch welds are in stock configuration. None of them been hammered flat. I just didn't want to do that because I'm no engineer and I don't know any better. So I was like, let's just keep them the way it is so this thing can stay reliable as best it can.
It's funny that you say you're no engineer because I was gonna pick your brain about what you do for a living, and one of my guesses was gonna be engineer, but that would have been way off.
I might have should have been at this point because like I've been wanted. I keep kicking myself for having never taken any kind of engineer classes, but I'm a geologist. I'm an environmental geologist. I do environmental compliance for a landfill company now.
No kid. Okay, okay, we gotta put a pause on this other stuff. How the F word did you get involved in that?
I mean, it started out just in middle school where I was just digging up rocks in my backyard. I grew up in downstate New York, about an hour north of Manhattan. So a lot of metamorphic rocks around there, a lot of quartz in my yard. I was near uh, a quartz mine location, really. So there's a lot of rose quartz in my yard. I was just digging that up, collecting it, and then got to high school, and there was an earth science class. I was like, great, let's take that. And I was just kind of hooked from there, and I knew what I wanted to do. Just wanted to stay in that. I didn't know what I wanted to do with it, but that was just, I don't know, that was the trajectory of my education from there. I mean, I explored petroleum. I spent a little bit of time in the natural gas industry doing mud logging on gas rigs.
Okay.
Found that I didn't like that one bit. That was like, man, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. graveyard shift on a gas rig.
No thing.
Yeah, I mean, it paid pretty good, but I did not want to do that the rest of my life. The
Yeah,
money, yeah,
trading
no,
your
that's
soul for dollars can only go so far, man.
pretty much, yeah. Um, Went to grad school. I came down to Charlotte, North Carolina for grad school.
Did you go to UNC?
Yeah, UNC Charlotte.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, my sister graduated from UNC.
All right on.
Trying to think, 2009, so it's been a minute, but
Okay, yeah. I started there in 2011.
okay,
Um,
okay.
and that's where I met my wife, who's also a
Nice.
geologist. Yeah, no, I lucked out. I got to ramble about her for a second. I lucked out with this one. Like, she's a
Dude.
geologist. Her mom's a geologist. Her sister's a planetary geologist. Like, I found the right family, man. Like, I can just
Dude,
rock nerd out with
I
them
was
all the
I was
time.
just I was just gonna say nerds unite, brother. I love
Seriously,
that.
man.
It's so rad when, I mean, you don't have to have anything in common in that area with whoever you marry, but when you do, that's definitely sick because they
Yeah.
understand, like, "Why are you bringing home rocks all the time? What are you doing? What" you know?
I mean, when we're backpacking, we're going to stop and look at the same rocks and talk about the same things. And like, here, just put this in my backpack. No, let's shift some weight around so I can carry that one. We got to take this home.
That's so sick. Okay, sorry, man, I took you down a rabbit trail there, but, yeah,
No, you're
sorry,
good.
continue with the mods, dude, let's hear them.
Well, so those the wheels and tires, they're plus 33 offset, so I don't run wheel spacers on them.
Okay.
But I do have a set of snow tires. Becca, I've never had snow tires even growing up in New York. I ran all seasonals, and she got me for my birthday one year or for Christmas, I forget, my first set of snow tires. So I run the 2003 WRX wheels because they're light and they fit.
Yes.
On snow tires, and for those I have 20 millimeter wheel spacers just to make them because they come in 5 millimeters from stock, so it just kind of looks funky. Um,
Yeah.
and then for suspension, I'm running the very first set of the RaceWorks GZ coilovers. Like before they were even thinking of making them, they did this promo on Facebook pages, and they were really doing a promo for their overland coilovers, which were not the inverted ones that we're seeing. They were just upright front and rear, overland style, which is only 6 inches of travel. And but when I said yes and took them up on the offer for the promo, I didn't actually quite know that. So then I went and measured the stock travel on my car, and it was like 5 and 3/4 inches of travel stock. So I'm like, I'm not going to pay all this money for coilovers if they're not going to give me any extra travel. And I said, all right,
Yeah.
well, let's go back to the drawing board here, and we'll get back to you. So they had my money already, and there was, I forget how long the wait was, but it was a little bit. And they said, all right, we got something. Let's do this. Let's do these guys, which will give you 8 to 10 inches of travel. I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it. Let's go. So I don't know. I don't want to take credit for that. I have no idea how much my hesitation was motivation for them to actually make long travel coilovers, but here we are. And
Sick.
I'm still running them. I've rebuilt them a few times. Well, I learned a little bit about coilovers. Like my rears, I'm getting a little ahead of myself with 24 Hours of Appalachia, but before I did the very first one of those events, my rear started leaking out the top seal on the rod, and they were leaking bad. Like I was just doing a final check on the car the night before driving out there, and then I take a picture and send it to my co-driver, and they're just covered in oil. I'm like, Dan, what's going on here? Because Dan's a rally driver, like straight up competes in stage rally. And
Okay.
he's like,
Okay.
your coilovers are leaking, bro. I was like, well, it's like, I guess you're just going to run them on springs, so whatever. So we do that. End up getting second place in that in the full size class. We'll come back to that one though. And then when I get back and take them apart, get the rebuild kit from RaceWorks, found out that they were half full of oil. Like all the oil, most of the oil had leaked out the top of them. Um, but it was because the dust boot had come out of place, like the little clamp that
The
they have on them.
bellows.
Yeah, I just didn't I didn't clamp it on tight enough. So in
Okay.
all the mud that I was going through just before that event, yep, just got in there and worked this way in, busted the seal out. So
Yeah.
it forced me to learn how to rebuild them. And once I did that and did it wrong, didn't bleed the valving properly, so they were bouncy as all get up, as you can imagine. And I mean, that got me down a rabbit hole of, all right, how can I make these things ride better, like without changing the valving, without getting too far into stuff that I don't know how to do because I don't have a shock dyno or anything like that. And even if I did, I don't even know what I'm looking at when they give like a dyno curve. What is that? I have no idea. That's something I've done kind of recently was swap the oil out. I think they started out like 7.5 weight, and I went up to 30 weight oil, and that
Oh
made a
wow.
huge, huge difference in damping and ride quality. And it's still like, I can get some bounce at lower speeds even with the dampers maxed out, but on the highway,
Okay.
it's nice. It's
Okay.
stiff, but it's not bouncy. It's great.
So I was going to ask if you're so I like most people and like you when even after you bought these don't know anything about coilover technology in terms of the internals and that type of thing. When you put that you said 30 weight?
Yeah, 30 weight oil.
Okay. Does that allow it to um not thin out as it heats up, or what's kind of the mechanism for how that improves the ride, or if you've dug into the mechanics of it?
Yeah, so like what you were talking about with the viscosity, the dynamic viscosity as it heats up, that has more to do with the additives in the oil and the brand of oil itself. And honestly, the oil that I'm using, I think it's like Beltec or something like that. Just what I found on Amazon as I was messing around. Come to find out, might not be the best quality oil. AMSOIL, like I got it through my brother who does rallycross. I got linked up with a guy who actually tunes suspension for a living, and he's like, you just got to go with AMSOIL. So next time
Okay.
I open them up, I'm going to do that.
Dude,
Um,
their stuff is good across the board. I
yeah, and he
AMSOIL's a
said
jam.
it just holds up to a lot of heat cycling, like more than I would
Yeah.
do. It'd be something that a proper rally car desert bomber would do. Like Milton, he would want to use AMSOIL if he's not already, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but having a higher viscosity oil just, it adds more drag on the valving. So it's similar to messing with shims and adding shims to your shim stack, just slowing the fluid down going through the shims. So it adds damping without actually changing anything mechanically within the coilovers. And it's something that I can change easily, like here at home. I think the biggest obstacle for folks wanting to do this on their own is having access to nitrogen to recharge these things when you're done.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
that, like, I did not want to pay $500 for just the nitrogen setup, and that's even before buying the nitrogen itself. That's just for a little tank with a
Wow.
no loss valving setup. I didn't want to do that, but I got really lucky because right when I started doing this, we just so happened to get a nitrogen tank at work for our landfill gas flares.
Le- Let's go.
Yeah. And these things take like no nitrogen whatsoever, so I just go over there and just like unhook the hose and hook up my little adapter and just charge them that way.
That's perfect.
Yeah, and so that was something else though I found out, and I found all this out digging into like what was it? Grassroots Motorsports had posts. I forget how old it was, like 2016, something like that. That's where I found out about the oil viscosity and playing with
Okay.
that. And
Yeah.
then they mentioned something about nitrogen pressure also, but looking at guys who are building their own free runners, talking about them modding their coilovers. Like I was going into everything I could, everyone who's using coilovers for off road, because we're kind of in a weird spot with Subarus with off road coilovers. Like most folks running coilovers are using them for speed, and
Yes.
that's what coilovers are for. Really, is for speed, because
Exactly.
a lot of
More
and I was
fluid volume.
yeah, so I was wondering the same thing too with coilovers. Like, what's the point? What makes coilovers special as opposed to like coil spring, strut bodies, things like that? Why does the narrower wrap spring make a difference? Went down a rabbit hole with physics, and it's you have less mass that's being moved in the spring, so it can rebound faster. So one way to
Okay.
slow these things down is they do make adapters, they just won't fit on our cars, to have a wider diameter coil spring, like a 5-inch, 6-inch diameter spring with
Okay.
more windings in it. So the load is spread across more mass, heavier mass, so it will rebound slower. And that's kind of how most stock cars are set up. Um,
Okay.
so, if I was just daily driving this thing and just rock crawling it, maybe these things wouldn't be the super best option in the world. But now that I'm finding myself in 24 hours with at events and like kind of not really rallying, but kind of am, they are perfect for that.
Yes.
Um, but
Yeah,
with the
that is
nitrogen
where they
pressure thing,
shine.
oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. But nitrogen pressure makes a huge difference. Like I don't know what they came with stock. I want to say it was probably 100 psi, just based on what it sounded like when I popped the seal on the bottom, the little check valve. But I refilled them with 150 psi the first time, and realized that to achieve the same resting rod height, like at rest, I had to use like a 1/4 inch less spring preload than before. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm onto
Okay.
something here. I rebuilt them again with 20 weight oil. This is before I went to 30 weight oil, and then tried 200 psi. Like, okay, I have a 1/2 inch less preload to get the same rod height. Hey, RaceWorks, what's the max safe pressure I can run on these things? And they're like, let's just say 220. Like, all right, 220, let's do it. I did that.
220 it is.
Yeah, and like 3/4 of an inch less preload than where they started out, and that helped a lot with ride quality also. But it's
Can
been a
you
learning experience.
Yeah, dude, that's how it is when it comes to coilovers. Are you currently in the market for a lift kit for your Subaru? Or have you put a crappy Amazon or eBay lift kit on it and realized maybe you shouldn't have done that? Well, if you're in the market for that, or skid plates, ditch light brackets, molly panels, any kind of other off-road Subaru stuff, make sure that you check out today's sponsor, Anderson Design and Fabrication. They are offering you guys a 5% off deal if you use code DIRTSUBIES at checkout. All you got to do is go to their website, awdadventure.com, use that code DIRTSUBIES when you check out, and you will get 5% off. And I can't speak highly enough of their stuff. You guys know that I've been running their products for over 10 years at this point and have just absolutely beat the crap out of them. I've got their lift kit on my Forester currently, and I will probably never use another lift kit brand ever. Their stuff is just solid. So it means a lot to me, the fact that Patrick was willing to do me a favor and sponsor the podcast and giving you guys a way to make purchasing a quality lift kit more affordable. So go over there, get whatever you need, use that code, and make sure in the notes section you tell him thank you, because he doesn't need to discount any of his products. He's literally killing it. But again, it's just a favor that he's doing for us, and I really appreciate Patrick. Can you explain two things for people that are listening? The nitrogen, where do you install the nitrogen when you're doing a rebuild? And then can you touch a little bit on preload?
Yeah, so the nitrogen, I mean, for the RaceWorks GZs that I'm running, the fronts are inverted, the rears are upright, right? So the rears are the first ones I rebuilt. So there's a little check valve in the bottom. You have, if you can imagine in your brain, you have the strut body itself, which has all the threads on it for the little collars that are just preload. And then there's the top seal that the rod comes out of, and that's held in by a little circlet. And then all the oil goes in there, and then there's a little floating piston, a little disc set at the bottom of the oil chamber, which can move up and down, which separates the nitrogen chamber from the rest of the oil.
Okay.
And then on the bottom, the very bottom of the strut body for the uprights is just a threaded valve. It's a threaded plate that goes into the bottom, and there's a little rubber check valve in there. It's not a Schrader valve, and that was another challenge.
Okay.
Was, I'm in Charlotte. We've got some shock dyno like producers here. We've got shock therapy. We've got a lot of autosports people who will recharge coilovers for you, but they all use Schrader valves. And they had
Yeah.
never seen these things before, like this kind of rubber check valve, and they didn't want to touch it because they didn't want to screw it up. Even though the rebuild kit that RaceWorks sends you comes with a little adapter, it's just a jam adapter. You have to like physically hold that thing in there, and there's nothing keeping it in there. So when I'm rebuilding these things, I'm holding the coilover in my left hand and like putting all my weight into it with the right to fight the pressure that I'm putting in there, and hold the little trigger down and wait for the pressure to equalize, and then finally get tired let it go, and then do it again just for good measure to make sure it's set to the right pressure. Um,
Dude, that's wild.
yeah, yeah, it takes a little bit of arm strength. I'm sure I can figure some kind of like system to get it locked in place so it's not such a pain. But they RaceWorks said they went with that as opposed to a Schrader valve because they've never heard of that style of valve leaking. Whereas when I was
Okay.
researching nitrogen pressure, like Jeep guys, for instance, going out to Moab with all the heat that they deal with out there, they talk about losing pressure over the course of a day.
Oh, absolutely. Because just those little rubber seals inside the core of the
The valve
Schrader
stem, yeah,
valve, yeah, they melt, especially, I mean, in tire applications, more so if you're doing some sketchy reseating of beads, but I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know. I
and
imagine coilovers get hot out there.
they do. I've burned my finger on my coilovers in these 24-hour events.
That's
Um,
insane.
and I'm not even pushing them that hard. I'm not doing like proper rally stuff. Like the fastest
Yeah.
we're going is 65 because the speed limit's 55, and it's not a
Hmm.
race. It's a
Yeah,
rally, and
yeah.
you're they don't close the roads and all that. But yeah, so those guys are carrying around nitrogen tanks with them, like on the trail. And again, I didn't want to do that because it's like $500 just for that kit. Maybe one day, but nah. So that was the nitrogen, and what was the other thing you asked? Oh, preload. Um, so preload was something did a physics dive on this to really wrap my head around preload. Um, Spring preload should really only be adjusted for like, when your car is at rest and after you've driven around a little bit, wherever it settles out. That's what I'm going to call resting height. And like that's when the car has all the weight you want in it. Where is the rod going to be in relation to its like max and minimum travel? You either want it right in the middle, as assuming that you have like the available suspension travel without suspension components limiting travel. For us on the SG Foresters, in the rear, down travel is stopped when the lateral link bolt contacts the trailing arm. So
Hmm.
so you're limited by, I think it's I might be a little bit off on this. It might be 2.75 inches of down travel
Okay.
stock. So then, I have 8 inches of available rod travel in the rear. So it doesn't make any sense for me to set the resting rod height at 4 inches. I want to have all that compression available and
Yeah.
only have like 2.75 or 3 inches of droop. So I want to have 5 compression, 3 droop. So I want to set my preload such that when the car is at rest, there's 5 inches of rod sticking out, or actually 6 inches because you have the bump stop up there too.
Yeah.
Yes, and in the front, you have the lower control arm that contacts the subframe, and I still have the subframe on there because that's part of my front bumper setup. And I'm not going to cut.
Oh,
I know a lot of folks remove that because like, oh, it doesn't come in
yep.
the Japanese versions or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's part of my build. It's part of my skid plate, um, and it keeps the car reliable. Like that's part of the build ethos of this car is mod it as much as I can, but keep as many stock parts on there because it is so nice being able to service this thing out of a salvage yard.
Dude,
Like,
yes. I was just talking about that. I posted a Game Boy that I had just uh, finished on Reddit, and I took a photo of it in the front seat of the car. And somebody was like, "Oh, that's sick Game Boy, but what kind of Subaru is that?" And that's literally what we talked about. He was like, "Oh yeah, I've got an NASG." I was like, "Oh, me too." He's like, "Yeah, I just love being able to go to any pick apart and get a starter. I can get literally almost anything for the car, like right there, dirt cheap."
yep. Not even off your car, off an Outback, off an Impreza, off a
Exactly.
Legacy. Like you're
Exactly.
almost
That's
guaranteed to find the part you need. An alternator, you can get them off Maximas of some
yeah.
years.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so back to preload. Like, there's with linear rate springs like the Swift springs. I'm sure I don't know anything about flat out, honestly. Like people ask me about them, and I just
Yeah.
assuming they're the same as RaceWorks construction wise, and they give you linear rate springs. There's this equation called Hooke's law.
Hmm.
Um, F equals negative kx, where F is your spring force,
Okay.
K is the spring rate in whatever spring rate you want, pounds per inch or kilograms per, I don't know what the metric one is. This is America. Um, and then X is your distance. So your spring force, if you corner weight the car or you just measure the load on each corner of the car, that's your spring force that you're targeting for rest. Let's just say
Okay.
it's, I don't know, 200 pounds. And for sake of argument, let's say it's 100 pounds per inch spring rate. Then you want to target 200 pounds of preload, so you would compress it 2 inches. So your negative K, which is your spring rate. It's negative because you're compressing the spring. So
Okay.
spring rate, 100 pounds per inch, X 2 inches. 2 times 100 is 200. That's your spring force. So
Okay.
that's the equation that I use to figure out what, you can just adjust it blind. You don't have to use that equation. You can just adjust it blind, but you'll be adjusting for like hours. Like
Yeah.
adjust it,
Trying to get
ride
it.
around, let it settle, see where it is, adjust it some
Okay.
more. Realize that like 1/4 inch of preload is not going to equal 1/4 inch of ride height adjustment because the springs aren't 100 pounds per inch. Like
Yeah.
mine are 175.
Mm-hmm.
Most folks are running 200, 250. Some people are running like the guy, like I don't know what Milton's running, but the guys who are jumping him a lot are probably upwards of 300 pounds per inch, just so because
Hopefully.
they don't bottom out. Yeah, I know, right? Um, but then they're not going to have a great ride quality on the road because these springs are so stiff.
Exactly. There's always a trade-off, man.
Right. And so my coilovers came with 250s just to try them out because I had no idea what I was doing in the beginning. And the racer was like, just try 250, see how they feel. And I realized that at crawling, I could never get them to flex out. The car was too light. It would
Yeah.
pick up the entire car and they'd compress like 2 inches, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So then I did some research trying to figure out, all right, what's the stock spring rate on my Forester? And that information is exactly nowhere. Nobody lists it anywhere,
I
not
was
even
gonna
spring
ask if you I
manufacturers.
was gonna ask if you managed to find that because I always struggle to find goofy stuff like that.
I did it experimentally. I weighed a solid cinder block that I had, and one of those solid cinder blocks is 33 pounds. So my
Okay.
my wife helped me with this. We took 3 of those cinder blocks and stacked them on top of each other. I took apart one of my old struts, had the spring resting on the driveway just upright, and I was balancing these 3 cinder blocks, 99 pounds, on top of the spring. And I was like, Becca, measure how far it's compressed so we can figure this out. And I do that for the front and the rear. And for my Forester, it was 180 front, 188 rear.
Okay.
So the closest that was available from Swift, just in the increments they offer, was 175. And I was like, hell with it. I can just preload it out from there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in case I did want to get a lot stiffer, I guess, spring force, they recommend 14-inch springs because that has 9 inches of available compression. I went to 16-inch just so I can play with more preload if I wanted to, because that has like 11.1 inches available compression. So you got to think when you're looking at that chart, it says how many inches of compression it has, but how much of that are you eating up with preload? And then what do you have
Yeah.
left over? So I didn't want to deal with that. So I have my 14-inch springs are still sitting on a shelf in my shed, never going to be used. Probably someone can have those. Hit me up.
Instagram giveaway.
Yeah, I know, right? They're all scuffed up and
Yeah.
whatnot, but
Does your Subaru's engine bay look like crap? Mine definitely does, or did. I recently, in the last couple of years, purchased a full set of engine bay caps for my daily driver, and then I purchased some other ones for my Forester from Melee Design Firm. They have full sets, or you can buy just the oil cap if you want to just dress that up. But they're billet aluminum, they're small batch, so again, not every broccoli head with a WRX is going to have these, and they look pretty sick. I'm using the wrinkle red powder coat, but they have them in all sorts of other colors that you can choose from. And if you use code DIRTSUBIES at checkout, you'll get 10% off pretty much anything in the store. And that would really help us out to continue making these episodes for you, and it would help out a small business. Melee Design Firm is the epitome of a small business. Mitch over there is absolutely grinding and crushing it, and I can't say thank you enough for his willingness to sponsor what we're doing over here. So go check that out. And let's get back into this freaking heater of an episode. Can you remind me real quick? Spring rate is essentially the amount of force required to move that spring 1 inch. Is that how that's
yeah, it's
measured?
1 inch per inch. So going back to like 100 pounds example, the first inch requires 100 pounds to do that. The second inch requires
Oh,
100 extra pounds, so 200 pounds total.
okay.
3 inches is 300 pounds. So it's a linear rate, but it's a
I
progressive
gotcha.
amount of force that's required.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. See, so this is something I'm really glad you're on here because I always learn something. Because this is just something I've never had any reason to really dig into. Um, yeah, I don't carry a lot of stuff in the Forester. I don't, you
Nor
know,
I. Keep it light, as
yeah,
light as possible.
yeah, same. And I'm not doing high speed, off pavement stuff typically. Um, so I'm glad you're here.
Oh, thanks, man.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to have a lot of engineers in my life too that I can ask. Like my buddy Nigel, like, hey Nigel, I'm trying to figure this out. What equation am I looking for? He's like, oh, this is the equation you're looking for. Like, thank you. I would have no idea. Like just researching the words that I need to know to find the equation that I need. Like for skid plates, the amount of time it took me to figure out that what I'm looking for is flexural modulus to figure out the bendy force, the bendiness of materials. Like
Okay.
bendiness index numbers, that doesn't bring up anything. Like, Nigel, help me.
Everybody, if you got a buddy named Nigel, you're set. That is the most engineered name I've ever heard, and it's perfect. That's
Yeah, he's
awesome. Shout out
he's been a
Nigel.
great resource.
Before we move into the other mods, can you talk about the AT3s a little bit? In my opinion, that is one of the best all around all terrain tires. I really like it. I think they're affordable. They do everything they need to do. What's your experience been with them?
Yeah, so I mean, I went to them just like everybody else does for the lightweight, but I didn't initially run those. So like when I first did this build, my inspiration was I don't know if you're familiar with the Power of Your Brains guys out of West Virginia.
Absolutely.
That is where all of this
Absolutely.
shit started. All of this started
Yes.
with them. So
Yes, dude.
to a degree, I was kind of modeling my build after them. They're where I learned about the VTD differential. So the tires I started out with were the General Grabber AT2s in 215/70/16, back when I only had 2 inches of lift, running a Subi Lift Oz lift kit. Um, and I just did that because I didn't know where else to start. It's like, okay, these guys run it, and they're doing these crazy trails in West Virginia, so let's just go with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Come to find out, those sidewalls are only a quarter of an inch thick after I popped them a few times. Right. So yeah, exactly. So I wanted to find something that was a little beefier and a little lighter because I found that they weren't so super light. I had this whole spreadsheet going of tire sizes and tire weights and rotational masses and like all that to try and figure out what I wanted. And they just worked out for price and the tread. But something I found out. So again, I picked the Toyos for weight. But when I got the Toyos and put them side by side with the Grabbers, I realized the Grabbers, the tread is a full inch wider than the Toyos are. The
Yeah. It
Toyos are a
comes.
bit more bubble, but
Yeah.
the sidewall blocks on the Toyos are a lot more aggressive than on the Grabbers. So for like any kind of mud, it's slight, but it's noticeable, I think anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also went for Toyos because they're available everywhere. Like, I got them from Discount Tire with their certificates, and I've used that quite a few times.
Me too.
Yeah, the 225s aren't a super common size, but they have them. They can get them pretty quick. I mean, I've got 6 tires in rotation now for that very reason, so I'm never down out of 5 tires to rotate in.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so those guys and the Toyos went through a redesign maybe a year or two ago where the tread block spacing got a little wider, so they're a lot
Okay.
better at ejecting mud now. Like the first set that I got wasn't so great at that. They would, especially around here with some of the Carolina clay and silty clay that we deal with, it'll just stick onto the tire and make them into just mud donuts,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially
Just
at
racing
URI
slicks.
sometimes. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it's not so great, but these ones are a lot better now with the wider treads.
Gosh, I've never been there in the winter. You guys get snow?
You got to chase it. You got to go find it. Like
Okay.
the mountains will get snow. The mountains have snow right
Perfect.
now.
That's how I like it. I don't want it to
Yeah,
interfere with my life, but I want it there if I'm in the mood.
yeah. No, I've taken them in the snow one time because I mostly wheel with this overland group kind of out of Pennsylvania and West Virginia, Central Appalachian Mountain Overland Camo.
Okay.
Um, so they do a winter trip every year. I'm going to be going on that second week of a second weekend of January, and
Sick.
like the snow gets like at least 6 inches deep most times, usually 8 inches a
Yes.
foot, something like that. And
That's
these
the
things are
perfect
champs.
level. Okay.
It is,
Okay.
yeah.
Good to
But you got to
know.
air them
Good to
down a
know.
little bit. You got to like,
Mhm.
I didn't air them down just because I was playing around with them, and I did get some just like stationary spin happening. But you take them down to like 20 psi, 25 psi, they're great.
Okay.
Not so
Yeah,
good on
that
ice, but
nothing is good on ice, man.
well, so on the second trip that I went on with them, I took my snow tires, and we went down this hill on near the Canaan Valley, and because I was just testing out these snow tires because I had used them a few times, and the biggest thing with snow tires I've noticed is stopping ability. It's a huge
Oh,
difference.
absolutely. That's the whole point.
Um, yeah, so we come to this hill that's probably like 100 feet long, maybe a 20 degree 25 degree. It's pretty steep.
That's
And
that's a grade, bro.
it's a grade. It's a grade. And there was a turn at the bottom. There was a ditch along the side, and all the guys with mud tires were like sliding down the hill, going
Oh,
sideways, going into the ditch. And I'm just like, man, I'll throw this thing in first gear and just glide down it, and let's jam on the brakes and see what happens. And I stopped. I actually
dude.
stopped on this hill. Yeah,
Are they are those studless or
yeah.
studded snow
They're
tires?
studless. They're just the general Ultimax Arctic 12s.
Yes. Dude, studless snow tires, I shouldn't have said nothing does good in the ice. Studded and studless snow tires are an absolute game changer. It gets cold out here, and definitely got snow tires on the wife's car. Um, but yeah, as far as off-road tires, nothing's gonna do good in the
No, no. And I follow like Engineering Explained on.
Oh, I love that guy.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
and
he
he's a
drives a
tire nerd.
Subaru.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Yeah.
he's great. He went over like what it takes to get the 3 PMS rating, and
Mm,
there's the ice rating, and it's really not that much.
it
There's
really
like
isn't, man.
there's a reference all season tire that they compare them to, and all you have to do to get the 3 PMS is stop 10% shorter for the same vehicle load weight. It's not a
Yeah,
lot.
that's not gonna save your life. You know,
Yeah,
I tell people all the time, you definitely wanna see that rating on the tire just because you never know when you're gonna get caught in something, but I always tell people there's no replacement for a dedicated snow tire. Like, if you really think you're gonna go out there and not, put yourself at risk or other people without something that's dedicated, you're in for rude awakening.
yeah, and I went with those generals because have a buddy, Kevin Bowman, here in Charlotte, who used to work for Continental Tire, and General is just Continental's off-road
Yeah,
brand.
yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, and so they're a German company. Come to find out that they focus their polymers and their compounds on wet traction specifically, all of them. So like
Perfect.
before I was getting into off-road, like my second Subaru, which was the same Forester but a 2007 in silver, it got totaled. But a week before it got totaled, I just put a set of DWS06 on there, and I was so excited to finally test these things out. They're like
That's
wet
such a good
traction, snow
tire.
traction. Never got to use them.
Well, I can tell you from experience that is one of my favorite street tires, or tire that's not focused for off-road. That's literally one of my favorite tires. Looks good, handles fantastically. We get rain like crazy where I'm at. Um, yeah, that's we actually need to talk about that. You got to tell me about that car and what happened to it.
Oh man, it's a stupid, sad story. I was just pulling out of the neighborhood. My wife and I were going to dinner. We hadn't been out to dinner in a while. Got all like dressed up and had reservations and whatnot, and then pull out of the neighborhood, and this kid looking at his phone just goes around a corner way too fast, and hitting us was the last thing he did. Like he came around a curve too fast. It was a reverse bank curve. He lost control of the car. The rear end kicked out. He overcorrected. His front end dug into the ditch on his side of the road. He spun around, and by the time he hit us from head on with the rear passenger side of his car right behind my shoulder. So head on from the side,
What?
the way he was spinning
What?
at us.
What kind of car is this guy driving?
A Camry. So he just got the most glorious Camry dent, basically.
Yeah. Oh, dude, how do you oversteer in a Camry, dude?
Because he was doing like 45 miles an hour or six, or I don't know. I think it was
Something.
45, but he was looking at his phone and just,
Yeah.
yeah, because when he hopped out of the car, I was like, oh, I blew a tire, and his phone was in his hand. The first thing I do is go take photos of all his tires inflated.
Yep.
His
There you
mom was
go.
so pissed at him. But my
Oh, I can
rear,
imagine.
my rear driver's side tire was in probably at like 35 degrees or something like that. And the cop was like about to give me a tow or just call a tow truck for me. I'm like, I'm not even a mile from my house. I'm driving this thing home.
Yeah.
And it made it. No
You
problem.
get
The wheel
parts off
still
that thing?
turned. No,
You
I didn't because I had to
okay.
get like insurance had to take it, and so I
Yeah.
buy another car. I
Nothing.
wanted the adjuster was a VW guy, so he was like, "You got those tires still have the paint on them." I'm like, "I'm really hoping to get those tires or like something for him." He's like, "I'll see what I can do." I
No.
don't think anything came of it, but he was a cool
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. And you said that was an '07 SG?
That was an '07 SG, a silver one. Her name was Misty. I name
Oh,
all my cars.
Hey, there you go. I've never named a car. I'm always like, the blue car today or whatever. I just treat my cars horribly, so I can't give them names.
I like when
Okay,
my cars treat me
so
well.
yeah, maybe I should adjust my strategy there. So I'm guessing you just were like, okay, this car's sick. I'm gonna go get another one of these. Is that kind of what happened? Because you ended up with an LL Bean, right?
Yeah, so my very first car was a 2002 H6 Outback LO Bean trim.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I loved, the LO Bean trim is whatever. It gives you this weather radio that nobody
Yeah.
uses, but the heated mirrors are the biggest thing for me. Heated seats were pretty cool too. I like that. Um, and so after that car died of rust because again, I grew up in New York. But
Yeah.
God, I missed that H6. And I kind of offered that a little bit before I knew what I was doing and got it stuck a bunch. Um, so then I got the Forester, and this is going to sound dumb, but I like the side view mirrors a lot more because they're a lot bigger, so I can see more out of them.
Dude, that's not dumb at all, bro.
Yeah, and there's a lot more headroom because I'm not tall. I'm like 6'1", so I'm not
Okay.
short. And then the moonroof was a huge thing because that old Outback had the sunroof front, moonroof rear, and these cars have the full moonroof. That was really nice. And the '07 was a premium trim, so it had the heated seats, heated mirrors, heated windshield, everything. And I use that all the time, even when it rains. Like
Oh,
the
dude, game changer.
you don't even need snow. Yeah, the heated
Yeah.
mirrors will just get the spray out of the mirrors. And so I was looking for a premium or an LO Bean trim because my '02 Outback had heated mirrors also. But come to find out, the LO Bean Forester does not have heated mirrors. Uh,
Really?
yeah, it's supposed to, unless mine are just busted. There's no
Huh.
extra button for them. Like
Okay.
according to the manual, the window defrost button is supposed to activate them, but it's never happened. The heaters never come on if they're in there. I've not taken the mirrors off to see if there's a plug or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I kind of joke like I combined my first two cars. I got the Ella Bean trim in the green from my Outback, and then the Forester part of the Forester stuck around, and now I have this thing.
Well, you know what I've found? I've found that there um, is a lot of times no rhyme or reason as to how Subaru did things. Like, I'll find
I believe it.
all sorts of stuff. It's like, they're like, "Oh, this car just didn't come with that thing." There was like 7 of these cars in 1997 that never had this one feature they were supposed to have or whatever.
And I got it right. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, dude. And even now, that I know now the trim packages, you can add all these weird options, but yeah, that sucks. But I will say this about the LL Beans. They always had the most sickest grandma colors available in them.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
dude, I was just talking about this and like the Brighton wagons from the early or mid 90s, and then all the LL Beans that had that like granny green that was like a light green.
Yep, that was
Dude,
my Outback color.
yes, that color and then champagne that Subaru did,
Oh, I
sickest,
forgot about
ugliest
that one.
colors. Everybody hates on them because they look like grandma cars, but I'm like, that just means the car is like ready for me to ruin. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
get get me that granny color, man. Like, I'm never gonna get pulled over. I mean, let's go.
Yeah, the only downside I've found, like when I was putting my snorkel on, because there's that anxiety. I have
Of
anxiety on
cutting the
drills. It doesn't help.
panels.
Exactly.
Yeah, you were trying to find another one, right?
Can't do it.
Yep.
Cannot do it. Yeah. Those do not end up in salvage yards. Like the
Not
silver
at
ones,
all.
white ones, all day long. So I did end up finding a silver one and just like working out my stencil on that off the car, and that was very
There you
helpful. But
go.
like, if I screw this up, I'm screwed, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, you have to do some paint shop stuff.
Yeah.
But the car looks good, dude. Your car looks super sick. I love it. I
Oh,
mean,
thank you.
who cares about looks, but if they're there, it's a
I
plus.
kind of do. Kind of. I want it to look
Yeah.
kind of. I started out thinking I wanted to make it stock plus, and then once the snorkel happened, it's like it's all downhill from here.
That's out the window.
Yep.
Okay, let me ask you about the snorkel. We were kind of talking about mods, and of course I got us off on a bunch of rabbit trails, but
Oh, whatever.
with the snorkel, yeah, with the snorkel, can you give just a quick overview of what you put on the car and share, you know, because I think in a lot of cases, most people don't need them, but the stuff you're doing, great idea. Plus, you're doing all this, 24-hour stuff where you need clean air from up top. Can you talk about the whole snorkel thing a little bit and school us?
Yeah, so most folks have the snorkel that runs down. It's the Pajero snorkel, I think, that runs down the
Mm-hmm.
entire quarter panel. And I didn't want that because just messing around at UR, like I've had a few close calls where a rock or a root would come
Yep.
within like a half inch of that part of the quarter panel, so I wanted that clearance, and I just didn't like the way it looked.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up getting two snorkel kits. The first
Okay.
one was from an NK Pajero.
Really?
Yeah, so that one, it's not the part that you see is not what I use from that. That was what I wanted to use first. It has like the little tiny bit that runs horizontal and then it dives into the
Okay.
fender. But when trying to fit that, I realized that the turn inside the fender didn't have enough room to fit in the void space that
Okay.
Subarus have. So I couldn't
Just a
really
little too
use that.
big?
It's a little too big. Um, so, I mean, it is kind of flat and sandwiched, but it's just too far forward in the fender to actually fit. But I did also realize that if I could find a way to move it back towards the calsum, that it would fit under there. And then I've also found out just by like serendipitous that the 90 that goes into the airbox for the NK Bajero kit perfectly slides in to the airbox hole
Heck yeah.
with no sealant whatsoever. Like it's a press fit.
Really?
I had to like turn it
It's
a little.
airtight.
I put some dielectric grease on it just to get a seal
Yeah.
on it, but it's like you shimmy it on in there and it
No
just kind of bows
way.
the airbox just a little bit and it holds itself in there no problem. So I've seriously
That's
got a zip
sick.
tie holding it in there just so it doesn't wander its way out.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
but so the part that you see is from a Gen 2 Forerunner.
Okay.
Yeah, but so when I got the Gen 2 Forerunner snorkel part, I realized that the hole that goes into the fender is only 1.75-inch diameter. Whereas, so I didn't want any kind of intake restrictions. So I measured
Yeah.
every orifice going between the airbox and the throttle body, and I realized I need to make this thing 2 inches at least. So me wanting to not have any restrictions because my brother tunes cars, or he used to work for National Speed on the dyno tuning cars, and
What?
oh yeah,
Oh,
no,
that's sick.
I can go on a tangent on what he's done with his car for a second. He's got a supercharged 2.5 RS,
Oh,
and he
dude.
built the supercharger kit himself with a Mercedes M300 supercharger. And so when he was tuning it, he realized that every degree of turn in the intake right above the throttle body made a noticeable difference on the dyno. So
Hmm.
to me, that means, okay, if I'm going to make a turn, A, make as few turns as possible, and B, make them as wide as you can so that you're not slowing the air down anyway.
Yeah.
So
No.
I was going for, the tightest restriction I want to be 2 inches, but everywhere else in that snorkel is a 3-inch hole all the
Okay.
way up. And so I had the turn from the airbox. There was that NK Bajero 90 HDPE, and then from there to the part that meets up with the exterior portion of the snorkel is 2.75-inch flex hose I got from Amazon, so I can
Perfect.
squeeze it and just put that on with hose clamps so they won't come off. And then so there was that hole at the bottom of the Forerunner snorkel, the exterior part. I had to drill that out. It was a little
Okay.
like, for lack of a better term, a nipple that would go in that would go into the fender. I
Okay.
drilled that out with a
Oh,
hole saw.
okay.
Yeah, and I was struggling to find a way to connect that to the turn piece from the Pajero, and I ended up just using a piece of like I think it was 2 and 3/4 inch or 3-inch rubber, jammed it in there, and seriously used great stuff to seal it up. And it doesn't leak. It passes the smoke test. I mean, I
Yeah.
haven't like filled the thing up with water, but it doesn't leak. And I mean, when you're
That's
doing these water
sick.
crossings, if you do the bow wave properly, you're going to
Yes.
get a trough right there anyway. So you really shouldn't be having that problem unless you stop for some reason.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Could you kind of share a little bit about the whole water crossing thing and also the other benefits of a snorkel? Because you say the word snorkel, people just think, oh, it's for going underwater. But there's a ton of other benefit that you get out of it.
Yeah.
Uh,
So when I was doing research on snorkel head types, that brought me to a lot of Australian off-roading videos, and they do a lot of really nice pressure tests where they have like anemometers and transducers that they put inside the airbox, various parts
okay.
of the intake manifold to figure out
Oh,
like
that's crazy.
what different kind of snorkel head actually gives you a benefit and which ones actually um, cause restriction or whatever, and they go over this and they say the primary function of a snorkel is for dust reduction, because you're going to get the air intake higher up, so
Mm-hmm.
your heavier particulates on a dusty road are going to settle faster. So your stock intake being lower is going to drink up both the heavy ones and the light ones and go to your air filter and tire it out faster.
Yeah.
And anyone listening who has ever been to Uwari on those trails, they know what the Uwari dust is all about. You got to bring like multiple air filters with you. You're going to spend a weekend out there. You don't have a snorkel.
I've
I got
seen
some.
videos. I've never been, but I've seen videos, dude.
Yep, and it's made a huge difference. And I also learned that if you turn the snorkel head around backwards on the trails, it also helps because you're creating a low pressure zone if you're going
Mm-hmm.
fast enough. But like when you're crawling, you're not going fast enough to create that little low pressure zone back there. So it's
Yeah.
some people say that, oh, well, you're just sucking it in the back because of that eddying effect. Well, when I'm like on a 24-hour event, I have it facing forward. I mean, depending on how much mud there's going to be, I may face it into the windshield also, but just to keep water out from splashing. But if I am going slow enough, I'll face it back so that even that dust getting high up won't get in there. And I haven't had to change the air filter after multiple days at Uari. I
Let's
should,
go.
but I haven't had to. Like, I got one
Yeah.
video on my Instagram where I didn't have a snorkel and just took the air filter out and banged it on the ground, and dust is flying everywhere. And those days are gone, fortunately. But yeah, that's the front. And like you said, cold air intake. So I got a scan gauge, just like everybody should. And
Yep.
before I had the snorkel, my intake temperature it would get as high as like 130 degrees, or 135
Oof.
degrees. Well, I also
Yikes.
have like problems with airflow through the engine because of my skid plate. I can get into that later.
Okay.
Um, but then with the snorkel, even like standing still at a traffic light, it never tops 90. Moving around, it's usually like 70s intake
Oh,
temperature.
dude.
Yeah, and we're talking horsepower gains at this
I
point.
was just gonna say, I mean, the hotter the and there's no way I can pretend to be a physicist or a scientist of any measure, but when it comes to combustion, the colder the air is, I mean, it's more dense when it's cold,
Yep.
correct?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, so
denser.
you're getting way more air into the combustion chamber, and you're absolutely gonna, I mean, butt dyno, you're gonna feel it,
Yeah. Yep,
hands down.
absolutely.
I put a cowl intake on. I have a Jeep XJ that's an absolute piecer,
I was
and
thinking about a cowl intake for a minute.
dude, I would love to do one because it's like nothing to get caught on. It's super just incognito. But man, I literally felt the difference just from that cowl intake right there. Boom, could feel it. It just felt way better.
What turned me
Um,
away from it on the Subarus was, there's actually a bunch of little holes there with just rubber
hmm
seals on that you can open up and plumb them in that way, but they're so
yeah.
narrow and so small that in order to get the equivalent like diameter to keep the air intake the same diameter the whole way down, I'd have to drill 3 or 4 holes and like plumb a
Mm,
little manifold in like that. I didn't want to deal with
okay.
that. And then I was worried, well, what if, because I've already done water crossings where water's come up over the hood and into the
Yeah.
cowl and drained out that way, and then what do I do?
Yeah, that's the only thing, with the Jeep. I don't get into crazy water, but yeah, I haven't in that thing. It's just so stupid and ridiculous. It's up, so it's on 35s, and
Right,
so
yeah.
if I get water up to the cowl, I got other
You got
problems.
problems. Like the guy who got me into off-roading, my trail daddy, Jay May. Yeah, he drives a lifted JK Rubicon,
Oh,
and
dude,
he was the one he was the first guy. Like I was just like putzing around talking about like, man, I could just off-road my Subaru, and he was the first guy who said you should totally do that. Who didn't say
that's
you should just buy a Jeep, and
dude, I
all this is
love
his
that.
fault. Jay, if you're listening, this is all your fault, man.
It's so funny you say that. So I have a friend that he just passed away about 2 months ago,
Yeah, man, I'm sorry.
and oh, I appreciate it, man. This one actually hit me hard. I don't have a lot of emotion typically, but this one was rough. But Kyle, R.I.P., the homie, of course, Kyle doing Kyle stuff. He had a lifted Forerunner with 529s and on 35s, ready to get ignorant. And same thing with him. He was always like, "Let's go, dude! Bring the Forester." And I'm telling you, I mean, you've probably heard me kind of rant about this a little bit, but there's such a, I don't know what the right word is, but Subaru owners, it's almost like they just have this thought that like it's an us versus this thing, an us versus them thing against like, 4x4 owners. And I'm just like, dude, I've had the most fun with other drivers in, real 4x4s. So that's really cool
Right? Yeah.
that, because
I mean,
they're bigger, they can pull me out.
yeah. I mean, you do that to some degree. You do have to make sure you're with a group that has the patience for you, especially if you're
Hmm.
new, like you're learning. But Jay, like, he is a phenomenal spotter. He
Yeah.
taught me how to spot myself pretty much and how to drive my car, like how to left foot brake modulate to work
Hmm.
open differentials. That was so critical for driving
Yes.
these cars.
Yes,
Um,
dude.
yeah, what to think about in terms of armor, just based on how he took me to URI right after I got the lift on the car, and he's like, "So based on what I'm seeing, you need rock sliders." Okay,
Let's do rock
and
slider.
that is one of the most fundamental changes to the car in terms of the way you can wheel it, and not just bolt-on rock sliders, but like mine are welded on and bolted on.
Yeah.
Like they're quarter-inch steel. It, if someone's thinking about rock sliders, I do recommend the quarter-inch angle iron or angle steel because you can basically hit a rock at 20 miles an hour
And nothing. Literally
and nothing.
nothing.
And I'm not exaggerating when I say 20 miles an hour. Like I've hit them harder than that going straight. Like sideways, lateral force, probably like seriously 5, 6 miles an hour. Not even a thought as to whether they were damaged. Like I can look at an obstacle. I'm going to slam my slider on that rock and that rock like it's part of the plan. I'm
Yeah,
not
like
worried
let me
about
pivot off of this.
pivot off of that, teeter off of that, all of that. Yeah.
Okay, well, let me ask about the rock sliders then. We haven't even scratched the surface of, your mods. Um, when did you do those and did you fabricate them?
I did not fabricate them. Those were done by two different shops. I
Okay.
always tag Blackbeard Outfitters. That's my buddy Dan
Okay.
Yarbrough. He did most of the work, but the original angle iron was welded on by Tar Heel Four Wheel Drive Center in Albemarle, I think, near Charlotte here.
Okay.
And it's 3 inch on the bottom by 4 inch up the side. I was going to do 3 inch by 3 inch, 3/16 because it was lighter, but we held it up to the car. And once you take the rocker panel plastic cover off, it
Mhm.
kind of looks weird because the 3 inch vertical section does not go all the way up. So you
Yeah.
have to either paint it or it
Yeah.
just sticks oddly below the door a little bit. So we
Yeah,
realized
yeah,
you
I
really
could
need a
see that.
4 inch leg up there. And they didn't make the place I was getting steel from, they didn't make one in 3/16 inch. And the
Okay.
guy at Tar Heel was like, "You're going to want quarter inch anyway. If you're going to put rails on this thing, you're going to want quarter inch." So I'm
Okay.
like, all right. And
Yeah, yeah.
there's a in the front on the underside there is a stock bolt hole that was just not utilized, but it's just there. It's just a captive nut in there. I forget, it might be M10 or M12. So we bolted into
Okay.
that, and then on the back, the Dan calls it a mustache bar, but it's like a, I don't even know what it is, a differential cradle outrigger or something.
Okay.
I don't know where that connects to the side. There's that little bracket. Like if you do a subframe drop kit, you drop this thing on the sides, and there's these
Okay.
two little M6
Okay.
bolts right near the outside, and there's brackets connected to that. So we wanted to have bolts on the bottom so that we could put the Nerf bars on the sides and protect against rotational stresses. Like if I
Okay.
slam down on the bar itself, it's not going to rip off the bottom.
Yeah.
Um, I did not hammer the pinch weld over. Most folks say to do that because you do gain like 3/4 of an inch of clearance, but I wanted to be able to teeter on rocks, and there's other stuff that hangs lower, like those little the knot body rails that go down the bottom. Those things
Yeah.
hang lower. The exhaust hangs down a lot lower than that. So I would rather hit those sliders first and protect those things than have more clearance on the sliders. Because like, what am I? I'm not trying to not hit the sliders. It's what they're there
Exactly.
for.
That, and like you said, that's part of the plan. You
Yeah,
use them as
exactly.
a tool.
And then across the top, there's four 8 inch welds spaced out. It wasn't welded across the entire top.
Okay.
And then there's just some kind of like silicone sealant across the top. And then they're just I think they're powder coated or spray on powder coat equivalent, that kind of thing. And I just spray paint them. And then so Dan welded on the bars afterwards.
Okay.
And but the bars made the biggest difference because like I mean, sure the functionality mostly comes from slamming down vertically on them, but I was still worried, our doors bow out a little bit, and I was still worried about just missing the angle iron and then dinging at the bottom of my door on a rock. And so he put those bars on there, and they only stick out like maybe a half inch more than the body is. Because one
Okay.
thing I've learned wheeling with camo on some trails in the Hocking Hills, Ohio, is just how much of a benefit having a narrow car is. Like, we got to take
Oh,
different lines, but we can squeeze through stuff. We can like get around trees in certain ways. We can. I wanted to flex that. I didn't want to have those little bump outs in the back that I can catch myself on because we don't really need them. Unless your tires are sticking out, what are you trying to bump off
yeah.
of?
Yeah, man, and it's so funny because that's like one of the biggest selling points for me of taking these things on the trails is they really are way smaller, especially when you compare them to, something with Dana 44s like that Jeep JK, and you've got, super low offset wheels, they're sticking all the way out. It's like,
Right.
bro, what with a
Yep.
Subaru, it's like, oh, I could fit in one of your ruts.
Yeah, we're doing like samurai and Jimny stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, man. What are some of the mods on your car that are not visible to people that, because I'm guessing you've got all kinds of stuff that if somebody just looks at a photo of your car, they have no idea it's on there, but provides a lot of utility, like, I don't know, ECU relocations,
Yep,
breather
yeah, I did the
mods.
ECU relocate. There's the ECU
Okay.
is in the
Worst place.
kickboard, I guess, the worst place possible.
Literally
Yeah,
the
so
worst place.
it's in the glove box right now. Lost a little bit of glove box space there, but whatever. The real magic for this car comes from the differential setup, for sure. So there's a torque locker in the rear, um, but and I just had the stock MPT center differential in there for a while, and then I grenaded that thing 3 times.
Can you explain that? Is that a multi-pack something? What
Yeah,
is that?
multi-plate transfer. So
Oh, there we go.
there's, Power of Your Brains guys came up with this. Well, I don't know if they came up with it, but they did the video on the center diff lock mod.
Very informative.
Very
I've
informative.
watched that video specifically. Very good video.
Yep. So I built that little switchboard and was using that. So that thing basically compresses the friction discs in the multi-plate transfer clutch. Let's just call it a clutch. It's not a clutch, but let's just call it that.
Yeah.
It'll compress them as much as they can be compressed. It basically, like, a lot of people on the forums and on Facebook say that if you put the gear selector in 1 or 2, that it will basically lock it. It absolutely will not do that. That is completely false.
I've heard that, and I can say from my own experience, doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can prove it. You can put the gear in first in a parking lot, lock the wheel all the way one direction,
It's not going to
let it
chirp.
off. It's not going to chirp. It's not going to
Yeah.
lock up. It's going to let go.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you look at the factory service manual, it'll say that the transfer solenoid, sometimes called duty C solenoid, will in first will go as far as the equivalent of 80% engagement at full load.
Okay.
Never
We need
100%.
more than 100, or we need more than 80. We need 100.
Right, yeah, but again, these are just friction discs. I mean, it's just like if anyone's ever busted open an automatic transmission, between the clutch drums, or I guess it's the
Mhm.
planetary gear drums, you have these friction discs, and it's
Yeah,
just one
for
of
each
those.
gear.
Yeah, it's just one of those.
Mm-hmm.
So even when you turn the lock mod on, it can still slip, especially if you have a torque locker and you exceed the torque that it can handle. And then it slips. It fails in certain ways. Another Jay Parkinson on High Wheel, who has an SF, he when his failed, it was just slip and spin. When my
Mm.
failed, it actually like properly exploded inside its housing, and there were metal shards inside there everywhere. And that happened 3 times, seriously.
What?
And yeah, so I was like I dropped the pan, was changing the filter screen, or cleaning that out. I changed the twist on filter on the side. And I learned a lot of things. I was kind of learning my way through the automatic transmission, like fluid levels were getting wrong. I had to change one of the sundial seals on one of the output shafts in the front. Like, how there's
Okay.
the output shaft seal?
Yes.
So then
Yeah.
there's an O-ring seal on the outside of that
Behind.
sundial. Right. That was
Yeah.
leaking. So I had to take that out to replace that seal. But then I wiped off one of the paint markers by accident. So I didn't know exactly how far back to put it in.
Because there's preload on those, correct?
Exactly. And it makes a
Yeah.
huge difference. And
Yeah,
so,
look what I'm seeing. Oh, you're not gonna be able to see it, but I'm looking at your Instagram right now. I see a cut. I can't talk. Clutch pack. Oh,
yeah.
dude.
So I messed up a bunch of things with that transmission, like sending bits and pieces through it, and it was kind of shifting weird, making weird noises.
Yeah.
So I eventually got a VTD on, and then also got a new to me transmission from a car that had been unmolested, just to start fresh.
Perfect.
Um, and at the same
Can
time, put in a WRX torque converter. But
Ooh, I
I
love
don't
it.
actually know if that did anything. It has like a 300 RPM higher stall speed, but I don't know if that did
Okay.
anything, honestly.
Okay.
I'm getting off top of myself here. So the MPT is what comes in most of these cars.
Yeah.
Again, just friction disc. It can be exceeded. The VTD is a double planetary gear set.
Okay.
And if you ever want to go on a nerdy dive into mechanics, like just look up a video on how planetary gear sets work. They are
It
magic.
it is dude, it's the same kind of magic as like, because I just did a slip yoke eliminator on a transfer case not too long ago, and so I kind of went down that rabbit trail just a little bit. But
Yeah.
it's the same kind of magic to me as doubling your pulling power with snatch blocks. Same type of thing. We're like, whoa, who figured this out? This is
Yeah,
sick.
right? It makes no sense looking at it, but it makes
Right.
perfect sense.
It's literal magic, dude.
Yeah. But so when a lot of folks, I think, because not a lot of folks have done the VTD swap because it's really hard to find those differentials. Like they're not at salvage yards in my experience. You got to find, just like I did. Well, Jay Parkinson found this kid who was manual swapping automatic WRX and was
Okay, I was
just
gonna
dumping his entire
ask.
driveline for cheap. So I got it
Okay.
from there for $100, like the
Nice.
whole
Can you
transmission for $100.
oof. Oh,
Yeah.
dude. And okay, that's what's up. And people are blowing up those transmissions anyways. Like it's
Yeah, but this VTD was totally fine.
yeah.
And it's a bolt-on swap. It is a direct
Okay.
bolt-on swap. Nothing else you have to do. I got the TCU from him also, but I haven't used it. I'm just
Yeah.
using the MPT TCU.
Sick.
Um, and I actually ended up uninstalling my diff lock mod because
Okay.
what I've done is basically just wire a switch to the front wheel drive fuse location. That's it.
Hmm.
So when I'm driving around town, I
You
have the
just
switch on such that it's in front wheel drive mode and the all wheel drive light comes on. And I've been driving
nice.
like this for like 30,000 miles. So everyone who says
No
it's not
problems.
designed to be like that, no
Yeah.
problems whatsoever.
Cuz
It'll handle
so
it.
the VTD is pretty aggressive, correct? Cuz I've talked to Patrick about that. I mean, you'll be chirping tires if it's not in front wheel drive, right? Or am I thinking of something else?
No, that's correct.
Okay.
With most planetary gear sets and automatic transmissions, the way that the transmission controls the difference in the gearing is by controlling how fast the planetary gears are moving. So the control is on the planetary gears themselves. In the
Okay.
VTD, the control is on the output sun gear. The planetary gears, because there's two sets of planetary gears that are connected together, so they can't move independently of each other, they are connected to the driven gear coming from the
Hmm.
transmission itself. And
Okay.
there's two little sun gears inside there, one for the forward set of planetary gears, one for the rear set of planetary gears, but there's nothing connecting these two.
Hmm.
So the friction discs on the backside of the VTD are connected to, the outside of the drum that has a floating piston on the back, and there's a little pressure port on the back that pushes hydraulic pressure against that floating piston. And that piston puts pressure on friction discs that are connected to that rear sun gear.
I have no idea why you're not an engineer, dude.
I like understanding stuff so I can mess with it and
Yeah.
not like screw something up.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And
but
then
but
there's me.
basically,
I'm like, let me just break it.
I know, right? Well, I mean, that's what I was expecting to do. So I have a backup VTD in my shed for when I break
Let's
this one doing something stupid.
Hey, if you want to sell it, let me know.
They're hard to find. But like, driving around town just in front wheel drive mode, the MPT TCU, I think, is sending like almost no power to the transfer solenoid, which I think is
To
putting no fluid pressure or
unlock
little
it,
fluid
right?
pressure. Yeah, well, so all the pressure coming from the back of the tail housing forward. Like when you put the tail housing on or take it off, you'll see there's this little tube that goes from the back of the transmission kind of
Mm-hmm.
around and back. If this is the front of the transmission, pushes towards the front, pushing
Okay.
that floating piston this way. So in front wheel drive mode, it should be not engaging that MPT, so not putting fluid pressure on it. Again, I think, because I can't find this in FSMs anywhere
Right. Right.
at this level of detail.
Yeah.
Um,
We need
so
Blingstrom on here, dude.
I know, really,
That guy's got all the little wizardry facts in his head.
I need Donut Media to do like a deep dive on this or something.
Yeah.
Like those guys. What's that? What was that segment called? Up to Speed or something like that?
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Um,
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that
yeah.
show.
But so I also like I said, I uninstalled the diff lock mod because I don't really need it to lock up all the way. Just with the way it works is once those planetary gears are engaged, it will transfer all the power through them.
Hmm.
And a lot of people say that it will only transfer like, 45 front, 55 rear. No, it's always 100% front. When you look at how like 100% of the power is going to go to the front, when you look at how the gears are lined up, there is no slit from the driven gear coming out of the back of the diff to the gear going to the
Hmm.
front. The front, it's always in front wheel drive. Front wheels are never not getting power. It's how much power is getting transferred out the rear.
Yeah.
But if you're transferring, like if you say it's in the 50-50, it doesn't mean that, oh, 50% of the power is now not going to the front all of a sudden and then 50% is
Yes.
going to the rear. It's just that 100% is going to the front and then 50% of that 100% can then go to the rear.
Okay,
But
that
with the
makes sense.
VTD, normal drive mode, like my switch will be off and it's just in normal drive mode. In first gear, remember how I said if you floor it, it'll give you a lot of fluid pressure.
Hmm.
It'll cause that to lock up as much as it will without doing 100% lock.
Yeah.
So I'll get enough power going back there to get them to spin, but I
Hmm.
actually don't, for my use, I don't ever want that thing to be 100% locked. Um,
Okay.
there is this guy who did this same mod in a Forester and took to UR and did a video a ways back, Dan Brzezinski, and he has a video of him just crawling at a turn with the VTD at 100% lock, because if you push that floating piston in all the way, it will properly 100% lock.
Hmm.
And he snapped a rear axle at 2 miles an hour on a flat surface.
Dude,
Right. So
what?
yeah, so I don't want that. Like the rear axle is the weak point of the car, and I want to keep
Yeah.
the rear axle as a weak point because nothing else will break. But I
Yeah.
also want to be able to do a tight full lock turn mid obstacle with like
Hmm.
diagonal wheels up in the air and have a little bit of slip to the rear, but actually not really any slip.
Well, and
And
your fronts are, in all off-roading, I find the front to be the most important. Like when I first locked the Jeep, up front is what I locked.
yeah,
That's what's pulling the car, that's what the engine weight is over. I've always had the best luck with that. So that makes a ton of sense.
yeah.
Um, with just for my own curiosity, it sounds like that VTD would be a headache to run on a daily driver. When they put them in WRXs, does the TCU interact with it in a way to where it's fine for daily driving? It's just that when you bring it over to our cars, they're much more aggressive.
It's yes, the TCU does control it differently, but also there's not a locker on a WRX in the rear.
That's true.
So
That
the
is
limited
true.
slit back there can eat up, or I shouldn't say
Mm,
eat up, but it's not translating all the torque to both axles like
okay.
it does for us with a locked car or with a
That
locked
does
rear
make
end.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. Yeah, that was just like I said, just my own little idea that I was
No,
curious
yeah,
about
yeah.
there. So that's what's up. What
Yeah, and then like the front is just totally stock. I mean, I've heard that Cusco makes something that might fit our cars, but they say it's only for manual.
okay.
I thought about that. I mean, it's like $1,300 or whatever just for the right. Yeah. So I would just much rather get better at left foot braking and modulating
Yeah.
that way. And that's the part of how you can work the VTD so well. Also, like I said, more load in first gear, and if will cause it to get more fluid pressure back there
Mhm.
and cause those friction discs to compress, and you get the engagement across the planetary gears. And I do that while I'm left foot braking, like just push the brake harder and push the throttle harder, and you'll get the same speed, but you'll get up into the engines, not into the power band. I don't think that's way higher, but you'll get more torque
Yeah.
available. If anyone's ever actually left foot brake, they know that you get way more power way faster by releasing the brake pedal than applying the gas pedal.
Exactly. 100%, dude.
Yep. And then if you can memorize, like the biggest thing for me with off-roading on rocks is memorizing where those rocks are once I lose sight of them, and knowing exactly when that rock is going to hit exactly which wheel, and letting
Yep.
go of that brake pedal right when it touches the rock. Not right before, not right after, not losing momentum, like right when it touches, so I can climb up and over. And then the
Yeah.
moment I get to the top of the rock, brake comes back on. Think of the next wheel that's going to hit the next rock, and work my way through the obstacle that way. But I'm almost never fully off the brake.
Unless they're like high level, you know, four-wheel drive people. Most people have never ever used left foot braking on the trails. And it's super slept on. It's
Yeah,
because like you said, you get the most uh benefit and control not from applying throttle, but from releasing brake while the throttle's already been
Yeah.
applied.
And it's like the whole reason why an automatic is so much, I don't want to say so much more capable, but
It is.
that's the way, that's okay.
It
That's the way
is.
that you're utilizing the torque converter. Like,
Yeah, yeah, let the torque converter do the dirty work, man.
yeah, you're
Instead of
stashing
eating
the
up
potential
clutch.
energy inside the torque converter,
Mhm.
slinging it up, that making that viscous fluid shear in there. It's designed
Dude,
to slit.
I don't know who came up with the automatic transmission, but I think it's a fantastic
A
invention.
wizard.
It it is sick, dude. Like torque converters, like who came up with that? Who
Yeah,
came
a
up with the
fluid
idea of
clutch
a torque
basically.
converter? What's that?
A fluid clutch basically.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like when you cut them in half, they look like those seashells, dude. They're super
Yeah.
interesting looking. Right on. What other unnoticed mods, if any? I know I've picked your brain a bunch,
No,
but
no, there's plenty to go through still.
let's go. Let's go.
So diff breathers obviously is a big one. The rear differential one probably everyone knows about with that.
Mhm.
You just got to like tap in some threading and put a
Yep.
little nipple on that. I
Hit it with
forget
some
what those numbers are
NPT.
offhand. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then the front differential and transmission breathers that are normally like right on top of the bell housing, just extend the bell housing of the front diff and the transmission,
Yeah,
just
I know.
extend those up a little bit higher. And the front differential for our cars, there's a little dipstick location. A lot of
Mhm.
people were jamming, like, Matt Chaplin down in Australia had a video or a DIY of putting either PVC tubing on it, like using a heat gun and jamming a PVC tubing on there and extending it up that way. I did that and I still found diff fluid leaking around, like it would spray up and then work its way between the pipe and
Yeah.
around the little collar there. So I just come to find out that a 3/4 inch boat plug fits
Hmm.
that hole absolutely perfectly. Just those little
Okay.
twist boat plugs, and then you just
Yeah.
like take a set of pliers, grab the bottom washer of the boat plug, take the little handle out, and then just jam some tubing in there, like some 1/4 inch tubing, and it fits like a glove. And
Nice.
just jam that in there and run that up higher.
Oh, that's sick. Okay.
Yeah, and you can still, like, the thing I didn't like about the piping design was that you had to just stash the dipstick in your car somewhere and put a little cap
Mhm.
on it. But with this, like, you can just pull the plug out super easy, put the dipstick in there to check your fluid level, or more importantly, check to make sure one of your seals didn't fail and you have a milkshake in there from a water crossing. So you can change that out super quick.
I'm a little dirtbag, dude. I literally what I do for those, and I don't do crazy stuff in the Forester anymore. Bro, I used to just like rubber band condoms over those.
That's awesome because they would
Like
still expand and you have the
it
fluid, or
still it
yeah,
can breathe.
it can
It
breathe,
still
yeah,
acts as a
without
breather
breathing.
because condoms can get
I
really
love it.
big.
I love it so much.
Dumbest, dirtiest thing ever, but it
But
works.
it doesn't not work, and that's all you need. So then stainless steel brake lines with
Mm,
important PVC coated,
underrated.
underrated. It's
Underrated.
it's armor for your brake lines.
100 armor, and it just keeps them. I mean, literally soft rubber brake lines, you feel that crap
Oh
in the
yeah,
pedal.
yep. So there's that, and I did the 4-pot brake swap in the front only.
Okay.
I kept the rear as stock because I don't know if this is actually a thing, but I'm telling myself that I've created a front braking bias so that I can work the front differential by left foot braking.
Oh, I never thought of that.
Right, yeah.
Huh,
Again,
interesting. Okay.
no idea if that's actually a thing, but that's what I did, and
Okay.
I guess it's working. I guess I don't know, but mathematically, I have no idea.
Seems like it.
Um, yeah, so for cooling, Mishimoto radiator. I know Miss Shitty, but it's worked out
Yeah,
fine for me.
right.
Um,
Well, it's hit or miss. It's hit or miss. So when
yeah,
it works real good.
yep. Transmission, external transmission cooler for sure with a fan on it.
Okay.
With a switch to control the fan so that the fan can also act as a radiator fan when you need it to. That's been
Okay.
very helpful.
Okay.
My buddy John Shimbursky led me onto that one because I've my temperatures have been creeping up, like, they'll get to 213, 215 wheeling sometimes. And he had never had a problem with them getting over 180 because he's got
Hmm.
hood louvers in his car. I've been like delaying
Okay.
putting those on my car also. But on a stock car with the splash pan, as opposed to having a skid plate, there's those little void spaces on the back
Mm-hmm.
side of the engine around the transmission. And there's a name for this effect, but those are low pressure spots that will suck air out of the engine bay. So with my
Okay.
skid plate covering all that now, I have nowhere for air to go. So I was
Yeah.
getting some heat soaking in the engine. So having that extra cooling up front with an extra push fan really helps with that. Even on at interstate speeds, I don't have any airflow through the engine bay. I did an experiment where I basically just rested like a Chick-fil-A napkin just on like teetering, seriously teetering on one of my lines in front of the radiator right behind my winch, and then went on the interstate and got back home and it was still resting there. It hadn't blown away or anything. So
Really?
yeah, and that's
That's
just because I've blocked up the airflow through there. So
that's
that's why I'm thinking about these
crazy.
hood louvers to get
Yeah.
more airflow through there.
Hmm.
Even though I have like the little holes on the side of the radiator at the bottom, like exposing the thermostat, that's all
Mm-hmm.
open, but I guess not a lot of air comes out that way,
Okay.
apparently.
I want to ask you about your front bumper is sick. I love how you have the skid plate integrated into it so well. And then I want to know who built that, and then what type of winch are you running?
So the winch is a super winch SR
Mm,
400, just like Power of Your Brains guys said. It seems to
okay.
be, it's light, it's 22 pounds loaded, and with the snatch block, I mean, my car with me in it loaded down with like all my gear and firewood doesn't break 4,000 pounds. It's
Oh, dude.
39. I got scales at all the landfills, so I
Mm-hmm.
ran it across the scales, and it's 39.20 plus or minus 20 pounds
Okay.
without firewood and without a whole bunch of camping gear with me in it. Like for a 24-hour weight, it'll be like 37.40.
Okay.
So not a whole lot. So the 4,000 pound winch with like a one snatch block redirect, that's plenty.
That's all you need, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're getting your Subaru more stuck than that, you better call somebody.
yeah. And so the front bumper and the rear bumper was all built and designed by Dan Yarborough with Blackbeard
Hmm.
Outfitters.
Okay.
Um, we wanted to have 4 points of contact in the front, not just have 2 points of contact, because a lot of folks when they put on a winch bumper on these cars, they're just pulling the crash bar off the front.
Yeah.
And when you pull that off, you realize it is only held on by 6 M6 bolts on each side,
There's
or three
not.
on each side.
I was talking to I don't know why his name's escaping my mind right now, but the one of the owners of Rally Tech, and he was saying when they were going through all the testing for those hidden winch mount bumpers that they designed with Warn, they were finding that, dude, those mounting plates from the unibody that are coming off the front, they don't like a whole lot of pressure at all, man.
Nope.
You start twisting and pulling them,
Yep.
you total your car real easy.
Yeah, exactly. So, engineer friends told me, well, if you can design things for shear as opposed to tension, they're typically going to be a
Mm,
lot stronger. So pull the front bumper off and then realize that behind those mounts, there's actually little square voids that go back into the unibody a little bit. And they go back in there about 6 inches before you hit something.
okay.
So I did this post on SubaruForester.org about like a DIY hidden winch mount that a few folks have found. And this is how I built it. And Dan just kind of copied that design, but made it into steel. I did aluminum. I slid 2 inch square tube down into each of those voids, about 5-6 inches as far as it would go, and then used two M14 bolts drilled through. There were just subframe bolts I had left over from my subframe drop kit, just from the front subframe. Drilled it through the unibody in two locations on each side and bolted them in that way, so that you have these 2 inch square tubes that are now in shear with not only there's a spot back there where you have two layers of unibody steel overlapping. So you're not just pulling from one 1/16 thick sheet metal, but now it's an overlap. So you have all the spot welds on the front and then all the spot welds that are connected to that going back into the unibody supporting that. And then those are supported by the winch mount aluminum angle, which is 1/4 inch 6061 because it was cheap, I think.
Okay.
Those are also held in with two M12 bolts on the bottom going into that square tube, and then one M6 bolt going into on each side on one of those original like crash bar mount locations, so that you have 2 to 3 points of contact, flexing and securing everything in all directions. And the way it's rigged up, it actually kind of behaves like a strut tower brace for the front of the car,
Okay.
so it
Just
prevents a little bit
holds
of twisting.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
everything is
love that.
self-supported. Yeah,
Okay.
and so what Dan did was work with that design, replace those two aluminum tubes with steel, and he used 1.5 inch 120 wall DOMS tube steel that slid into those 2 inch square tubes. Again, bolted in through that in two locations, so that and that was tied in to the forward bar that went around the front, and then you have the skid ramp tubes that go down to the bottom, and then we kept the front subframe on, but cut it off a little bit,
Oh,
like behind the radiator, and welded on
okay.
some plates there, so that you can bolt in to the front in two locations on each side, because I wanted to make the entire front bumper removable for service if needed,
Yeah.
but still be able to tie into the body in four locations. So now my subframe is the all those bolts that go all the way back on the subframe from that U-bar, which is not really a U-bar, those are all supporting the bottom of my front bumper. I wanted to be able to be like snatch strapped out by
Yeah.
some kind of forerunner or something and not worry about
Yeah.
pulling anything off.
Yeah, I think you succeeded. I have, because you never know how they're mounted when when you see people's photos and stuff. You have no idea if it's barely hanging on by a thread and if it's actually ready for recovery or if
Right,
it's
yeah.
done correctly like what you've got going on.
And then also if you're getting pulled out by someone, you have no idea how good they are at recovery until they start pulling on you like, "Why are you going 10 miles an hour right now? Like
Yeah.
easy pull." And maybe they're using a recovery strap that has zero
S-
stretch, and all of a
Exactly.
sudden the front of your car is like 20 feet in front of you.
Dude, I find pretty often that people just have no idea what they're doing.
I agree.
When you run into people on the trail, it's I hate to be this guy that's trying to tell people what to do, but I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Right.
I'm like, "Hey, just give it a quick bump," or "No, I don't wanna use your tow rope. I Here's a kinetic rope. We're gonna use this." You
Why are you
know?
hooking to your tow ball right now?
Oh, dude. Dude, yeah, if I see that stuff, I just leave, man. If I'm
Yeah,
not
like
one of the
I'd rather
cars,
be stuck.
I'd rather be stuck than dead or watch you be dead,
Yeah,
Or I'll see people, man, I witnessed this. I had no idea that this had happened, and this was actually what prompted me to never trust another person's recovery. Um, we were pulling out actually an SF Forester, the homie Justin, and the person that set up the recovery, they just looped a recovery rope with a D-ring on the end of it around one of those open hooks that's on the front of a Nissan Xterra.
oh
Gave
god.
him a Dude, gave him a good heavy snatch, and bam, that thing came right off the hook and went through his back windshield, landed right behind the driver's seat. And I'm like, man, we almost just killed the homie. We're leaving now. I'm like, we're getting no more wheeling today. Bye.
That'll
Like,
get the
time to
adrenaline
go.
going.
Dude, if I don't really drink, but if I had been drunk, it would have sobered me up real fast. Like,
Oh yeah.
okay, let me ask you this. Any crazy trail stories or crazy recovery stories that you could share with people?
Yeah, not so much recovery stories. Like I've had to recover myself once with the winch because I blew out my center diff and was in front wheel drive mode and like dragging myself up an obstacle. So an obstacle that I could totally get up if I had a functioning center diff. I think I've broken four rear axles at this point doing stupid stuff. Some of it's on Instagram, some's not. Like, so the Jeep Badge of Honor trail at Uwari is Dickey Bell Trail, and I tried
Okay.
climbing that. That's in one of my reels. It's pretty steep. It's a lot steeper than it looks. Like that, like every video is.
I can see in your videos how insane the stuff you hit really is, dude. I mean, I know some of the people out here in the Northwest think they get down, but I'm like, man, you got to go look at this guy and what he's doing.
It's
Like,
the rocks and mud in combo out here. Like when it rains at Uwari, especially, or anywhere like Kentucky, man, Kentucky. Like I've only
dude,
did one 24-hour event out there. Didn't get any of it recorded, but that's some wheeling out there.
well, I was gonna ask, do you know who Dex Jays is by any
Doesn't ring a
chance?
bell. No.
I think it was Dex Jays. He builds Jeep XJs, ZJs, and WJs, like Cherokees. And I'm pretty sure, I could be totally wrong, but I'm almost certain that he did a trail run at URI not too long ago. And he was just showing, like, oh, yeah, here, watch this. Just even with like 37-inch boggers, whoever's Jeep they were in. They're just sitting there spinning tire. Just just the mud
Yep.
is completely different, man.
A lot of folks say it's the clay that gets you. And I mean, I'm a geologist. I'm gonna throw my 2 cents in here. Like clay
Let's
will
go.
stick to your tires, but clay is actually cohesive. Clay is not slick.
It's
Clay, one of the properties is it sticks to itself. So,
just like snow.
right, yeah.
Snow sticks to snow.
Right. So clay will stick to your tires and fill them up, and then the friction coefficient of clay on clay is less than rubber on clay. So in that way, it's slick. But if you ever feel wet silt, just straight silt, it is straight up soapy. It is
Dude,
very, very slick.
it's
And
we
that's what we
do.
got at Uwari.
If Dex was filming something showing how slick it was like, okay, like I guarantee this will humble people real fast. You
Yeah.
can watch a video, be like, oh, I could run right, and I see that stuff all the time. Oh, my Forerunner would just tear through that. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
You got to manage your momentum
Yeah.
sometimes.
Well, and the washouts, bro, the stuff you send that SG through literally blows my mind. I'm just like, fudge, like I could take a nap in that ditch. Like that's crazy.
It was pretty deep, that one. I mean, I edited that video up a little bit to like
Okay.
match the audio I was using. I tried it was the third time because the expression goes as slow as possible, as fast as necessary from like some
Mm-hmm.
old Land Rover driving school or whatever, and that was the quote I used in that video. So I was working my way up to speed, and on the third try I got it. But yeah, no, it looked like it was dry in the bottom, but it was kind of muddy in the bottom, not like super wet or anything, but it was slick. Like when I was when I would try it and not make it, people would say, "Oh, he's backing down." I'm not backing down. I'm sliding down. Like
Yeah.
there's no reverse going on
Nothing.
here. It's just all gravity taking me back. But so going up Dickey Bell on a camo trip when I had a bunch of the camo guys down here, I was trying to go up the middle line of Dickey Bell because like if I'm gonna go up that thing and record it, I'm not taking the bypass. I'm not taking the easy line. I'm going right up the damn middle of it. And I was trying to get up this one little S curve switchback that sometimes is called the Falls, and there was one loose rock on the
Okay.
right side, on the passenger side, and I hit that with the rear locked up, and it shock loaded that axle and snapped it, like right in the middle of the trail. And so I'm having to back down this obstacle. It's like maybe 200 feet of trail, backing down to the bottom so I can swap the axle out. And I wanted to try it again, but I only had one extra axle with me. So that's why I now carry two rear axles at all times because I want to try it again. I know where I broke it. I learned something, but what if I break it again? I've never wanted to be the guy blocking up the trail because I've
Mm-hmm.
heard people like always complain about the one guy who breaks down and holds everyone up at Uwari. So like in my driveway, I'm practicing changing axles to get it down to some reasonable time. And like if nothing goes wrong, 25 minutes, a half hour for a rear axle, no problem. Now at a different time at Uwari at All Wheel Drive Fest, not this past year, but the previous year, we were just going down, I think, Falls Dam Trail, going back
Okay.
to camp. Not even an obstacle at all, just a section of trail that had loose boulders, like, I don't know, 1 foot wide boulders. And I somehow kickflip a boulder up on the driver's side front wheel. This is also one of my posts. It kickflips up and sticks itself to the subframe, catches the inside of the tire, rips the rear of the tire out, strips the threads off the ball joint, pulls the hub out of the lower control arm, and then rips the axle out of the front differential. But
Dude.
the inner joint comes apart, so the stub stays in there, but the inner joint comes out. So now I have to replace that axle on the trail in the middle of the
Oh,
trail.
I did see that post. I'm looking for it right now. I saw that.
Yeah,
That is
and
absolutely.
so now like whenever I'm driving over just loose rocks anywhere, I have like so much anxiety. Like hit these rocks straight. Don't hit them on the side. You don't want to
Yes.
kickflip any of these rocks up because like what if that happened at like 3 miles an hour and I just happened to feel something really wrong and jam on the
Yeah.
brakes? Like what if I had kept driving? I didn't somehow shear a brake line apart. That
I
stayed
was
in
gonna
place.
s- I was gonna say that's one of those trail fixes that's not easy.
I mean, even if you carry extra brake lines and extra brake fluid, like you got to rebleed the
Now you gotta
brakes
bleed
now.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I hope you got a buddy, one
yeah,
that doesn't hate
exactly.
you.
And that, I mean, I'd practiced changing a front axle, but that took like 2 hours to do just because I was getting tired. Like picking, my coilover will droop farther than the LCA will
Mm.
reach. So I have to unload the spring and
Mm-hmm.
then fight the nitrogen pressure pick the
Mm-hmm.
coilover up and the hub up to try and get that thing back in to the LCA, and also at the same time thread in the outer stub of the axle into the back of the hub. And I was just so tired, and my arms were just like trembling and shaking that I could not get that stub lined up into the hub.
Yeah.
No matter, it took me 2 hours to finally do it, and then I didn't have an extra ball joint, so I carry some. The threads are stripped, but they weren't stripped on the stud of the ball joint. It was the castle nut that stripped off.
Oh
So
yeah,
I told
just pulled it
myself,
right off.
I'm never using a castle nut ever again, because
I
because of the castle nut, you're missing some threads around the castle
mm-hmm.
sections of it. So now I just use the one with the nylon lock nut, but I just so happened to have this random ass nut in my tool bag that was the perfect thread size. But not only that, but you know how some of those nuts in the car are kind of like oblate? They're not perfectly round, but they're a little bit
They
oval.
pinch them at the top. Is that what
No,
you're talking about?
the threading, so the bolt itself is not actually round. It's a little bit ovular or oval, like an
I
oblate spheroid kind of thing.
I
Like they're on
believe.
they come like that on camber bolts for rear suspension.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
you know how you can't finger thread it on all the way? It
Yes.
gets
Yeah.
stuck. It's because it's not perfectly round. So it's like a
Yeah.
way of having a built-in thread locker. I had one of those. I don't even know where it
Yeah.
came from, but it was in my bag and it fit. So I buzzed that thing on there, and it held it on to get me back to camp and get me back home.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm almost sure they slightly crimp those nuts to do exactly what you're talking about.
That would make
They
sense. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's how they work. But yeah, you're right. The nut on the camber bolts is like that, I believe. And I have a ton of those in my parts bin because I was looking for one that wasn't like that, and I was like, how do I have only these? This is pissing me
Yeah.
off.
So there was another time 2 winters ago on the winter camo trip. No, this was last winter on the winter camo trip. We went up Union Springs Trail in Virginia, and I've been up that trail before unassisted, no problem. But this was in the snow, and if anyone who knows that trail knows that trail, there's this one obstacle that some people call tree hugger, where there's a little bit of a ledge you got to go up with a tree on the
Mm.
right. If you do it wrong, you get slammed into that tree on the right. Um, Lately, folks have stacked rocks there, and that was kind of a bummer. But
Ah,
in the snow, everything's a little bit different. So I go, I
yeah.
lock up my differential and I go up that thing, and I just get stuck right in the middle of it. I'm like, I've been up this thing before, no problem. What's going on here? And I have to winch up and keep on going, and not thinking anything of it. Finish the trail, no problem. Go keep wheeling the next day, and this is when the snow is like a foot deep or so. And eventually, I start overheating the transmission because I'm not getting airflow. My
Oof.
A2 oil temp light is starting to flash. This is before I had the fan
Oh.
on the car. So the fan was on because of this. Um, and when I'm trying to do diagnostics on the car, the guy was saying, "Hey man," they're looking at me from the passenger side, and they say, "Only your front driver's side wheel is spinning right now. Your rear wheels are not spinning at all, and your passenger side wheel is not spinning at all." So I was like, "Okay, that's kind of weird, but
Yeah.
whatever." I drive home, no problem, and then I get in my driveway and find out that I have snapped the axle stub off of one of the rear axles. I would have had no idea if I didn't take the axle off to replace it. And I got a video of that on Instagram also, where I have just a little stub coming off.
I was just gonna say I saw that post
Yep,
also.
yeah. So that was like a ninja axle brake that I would have had no idea of. But that also told me,
It's
like, what's the point in getting like drive shaft 500 horsepower axles? They're just upgrading the axle shafts, but the stub is going to be the same. So
yeah.
if the stub is the weak point here, then I'll just stick with my $30 salvage yard axles and keep
Yeah.
replacing those.
And you kind of want to leave certain things as the weak link in the chain,
Oh,
you
absolutely.
know.
Something that's easy to replace
Dude,
and that's cheap.
because I see people all the time talking about like, oh man, I'm gonna do chromoly axles, but they're running like a Dana 30 and like a Jeep TJ. And it's like, cool, your axles are gonna be fine, but now you're gonna shear your ring and pinion, and
Yeah.
you're running 488s, which have only one tooth of contact at any given time.
Oof.
You're a dude.
Yeah. Big oof.
Big yikes, dude.
Those Porsche 930 axle conversion kits are out
Yep.
there. Big money. Sure, I'll get better travel out of it,
Hmm.
but if I can just left foot brake all the time, it doesn't really matter. and
Yeah.
I'd rather have a $30 axle that I can just throw on there, no problem.
Can I ask you some questions about the coilovers?
Yeah,
I'm and not really about them, but like, you know, if you've heard me talk, I typically tell people it's unnecessary for most people. For like 95% of people that are like, I'm just trying to, you know, because let's face it, 95% of lifted Subaru drivers are not doing even a quarter of the stuff you're doing.
yeah,
You know, because for some people, a long travel coilover on a Subaru is the right thing. For some people, it's not. You know, in a lot of cases, people are going to be like, "Oh, great! Now I got all this extra stuff I got to worry about with these, and I didn't really need these to begin with." Do you have any thoughts about that? Can you maybe give some guidance if somebody might be the right candidate for doing that upgrade?
yeah, absolutely. I agree that they're definitely not for everyone. I mean, other folks have touched on the adjustability, which is a pro and a con because it takes a lot of time to dial it into the way that you like it.
Yeah.
And they are, because of what I was saying before about how the springs are set up and the lower mass in them, they are lighter. That's a big thing. They're significantly lighter than
Mm-hmm.
uh, co coil springs,
Struts and
and just
springs.
and the strut top spacers being made of steel, those weigh something too. But many
Mm-hmm.
folks might not care about that. Um, but they're going to be stiffer just by the nature of them to a degree, unless you want to do what I did and like play with the oil inside.
Yep.
But they're meant for speed. Like that's something I
Yeah.
notice is the way Dan, again, being a rally driver, and my brother Doug, who's also a rally cross driver more than anything, they've taught me the same thing. If you want to make potholes smoother, go faster. Go like over 45, 50
Float
miles an
over them.
hour, and that you just glide right over them. And if you have
Yeah.
coilovers, like the big thing with coilovers is they're going to come down a lot faster
Mm-hmm.
than coil springs will because there's less mass for those springs to move, so they'll come back down faster, and you're going to get grip faster. Like on a track setting, for instance, if you're going over a bump at let's just say 80 miles an hour, you want that wheel back on the ground as soon as possible, and that's what coilovers are
Absolutely.
great for. But for folks who are
Absolutely.
daily driving, like there's a comfort to worry about, and then sure, long travel could keep your wheels on the ground more in theory, but like I said earlier, the down travel on these cars is limited by the way the suspension is set up. So
Yeah.
unless you like, take out your
TSS
subframe in the
fab.
front, TSS fab, or
Mm-hmm.
you notch your trailing arm like the Power of Your Brains guys did to actually get more down travel in the rear, you're not going to be able to use it. You'll get more compression out of it, but just learning how to left foot brake and use a
Yeah.
locker, all
Yeah.
that, you're going to get the same ability out of it.
Yeah.
Um, I think, yeah, I mean, I think going with what my buddy John Shimbersky did, Rally Tech setup might be, or just keeping it stock and doing shut top spacers like a 2-inch lift or even a 4-inch lift with a subframe drop kit and taller strut top spacers. I mean, I forget this dude's name who drives a red Forester in Australia. Who it's a manual.
Okay.
I don't remember. The stuff that he does is absolutely insane. Though he doesn't have coilovers, or maybe
Yeah.
he got Petters at some point. But I mean, it's just the Subi Oz kit.
Okay.
Ignition Off Road. That guy,
Yeah.
Jordan, he had a Subi Oz kit for a while, and he did some crazy stuff too. Like I really think that coilovers are good for speed. Like what Milton, those guys are doing out in the desert,
Yeah.
definitely. That's coilover territory for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but just like dirt roads, and even if you're dirt road bombing, as some people say, like if you're actually doing that when there's the possibility of oncoming traffic and you're being a responsible human being and not trying to kill someone going to church on Sunday, come the
Yeah.
other way, you're not going 60 miles an hour on these dirt roads. You're doing like 40 and feeling good about it.
Yeah.
And your suspension is still going to be stable at that. The stock suspension, no problem. Maybe just get, our cars are 20 some years old now. Get some new KYBs. They're probably worn
Yeah.
out. Get some
Yeah.
new
Throw
springs.
some.
They're probably worn out. Like
Exactly.
you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's kind of the philosophy that I've had on it. I'm glad you mentioned the suspension design because I see people all the time say, "Oh, I want long travel. I want long travel. I want long travel." And like you said, yeah, in theory that's great, but your CV axles limit the travel. Your um, whatever you call that, the front control arm and that weird subframe part on a lot of
Yep.
Subarus, all of that acts as a bump stop.
Yep.
Your your stock suspension can almost travel just as much as a $3,000 set of coilovers. And
Yeah.
when you go out on the trails, you're literally going to gain more capability just by doing the stuff you've talked about, learning how to left foot brake, learning how to select line choice a little more efficiently. That stuff's going to really make a difference. But you're 100% correct. I always tell people, if you're doing anything that requires speed on non-paved, well, and it's beneficial on pavement, but dude, especially when you're heating up that fluid, rallycross stuff, stage rally. I mean, people that are doing stage rally, they already know better, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's a place for it. But yeah, I 100% agree with everything you said, and I think the stuff you're doing, bro, like, is so insane.
I mean, I was just the last time I was at UARI with John Shimbursky and this other guy, Michael Ward. We were talking about that around the campfire. Like, if I didn't find myself doing these 24-hour of Appalachia events, I don't think the coilovers would have been 100% worth it for the way I was driving. Like, yeah, I do use the compression, like
Hmm.
rock crawling. As much as you can say what I do is rock crawling at
Yeah,
UARI, and that is the benefit that you get with these cars is you will get more compression out of them as long as you have soft enough springs to allow them to flex that
yeah,
much for how light our cars are. Which is like one of the things that guys who are doing desert jumps aren't going to do because, like I said before, 250, 300 plus pound per inch springs, it's
it's
just not
not gonna.
possible. Yeah, unless you make the car like 6,000 pounds, and at that point you got transmission issues.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna get almost no up travel with a spring that heavy. We're pretty heavily in agreement on all that stuff because the average person that is in the market right now to buy a lift kit, they've never even swapped springs out of a McPherson style strut,
Yeah,
and they've never done that, which is only a fraction of kind of the technical skill and knowledge that has to take place if you're really going to get the full benefit out of coilovers. I all the stuff you were talking about with coilovers sounded like, yo, this is like wizardry over here. Which I understand it, but it's like, oh, this is stuff I've never even really dug into. And a lot of times people, it's like it's kind of like buying a Ferrari to get groceries, you know,
right. Yeah.
for a lot of folks. It's like, yeah, the Ferrari's worth every penny, but it might not be what people need.
Well, I want to brag on these 24-hour events.
Yes.
Do some promos for Jet on this a little bit.
Let's go there now, dude. Yeah, let's. So the 24-hour events that you're doing, how long you been doing that? What does it look like? Just kind of lay that out for us.
So these started out as a bet with Jedediah Smith. He's with the organization Backroads of Appalachia. If you're familiar with Hillfest or Drift Appalachia, it's the same organization that puts those on. Um,
Sick.
and someone bet him that he could not go across the state of West Virginia on only dirt roads in under 24 hours. So he put a route together that goes from Seneca Rocks on the east side. And I mean, obviously, you're not only on dirt. You have to connect these dirt roads with some paved roads here and
Absolutely.
there
It's just like
somewhere. But
the Pacific Crest Trail.
so it starts in Seneca Rocks, goes down to the south side of the state through Thurman Station, and then goes up and ends in Point Pleasant at the Mothman statue, right on the Ohio
Oh,
border. Yeah. So
we
that
got to
was the
talk
very
about Mothman. Don't let me forget.
all right, yeah. So that was the very first 24 Hours of Appalachia event, and I wasn't even a part of Backroads of Appalachia. I hadn't heard anything about it. Dan Yarborough, though, the guy who Blackbeard Outfitters who built the armor in my
Hmm.
car, he does stage rally, so
Sick.
BOA is involved with the Ohio Forest Rally. Yeah, so he heard about them, and he just sent me this post one day, Jed saying like, "This is something I'm going to try and do. We're going to see how this goes," and that was the very first one, and that was 2 years ago. And Dan's like, "You and I got to do this. You and I got to absolutely got to do this. I will co-drive with you 100%. I had never done anything like this in my life." I'm like, "Cool, okay." And this is when I was saying that I had those coilovers that had half the shock oil in the rear.
Yeah, yeah.
This was that event. So it was I forgot if it was the last weekend of February or the first weekend of March, something like that. There was snow on the ground at high elevation.
Oh,
And yeah, so there wasn't that much for obstacles. Like we went through the Canaan Valley, which if anyone's familiar with that area, there's like two obstacles there, kind of. But it was all covered in snow. But the idea is that there's no entry fee, but the events are set to benefit two charities that they select, like Children's Home Society of West Virginia, and I forget the other
That's
one that
sick.
is often used. And your
Okay.
entry fee is encouraged to be $50 to $100 per participant, like driver and co-driver, towards one of these charities. BOA doesn't collect any of that money. It goes straight to the charity. Like the charities are
Dude,
there at the start. You hand them the money, get a receipt if you want to write it off, whatever. So there was a full size class. They made a Subaru class, like specifically for the first event, because they didn't think any of us would
nice.
finish at all.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, dude, Subarus are the perfect car for this.
Kind of like based on the route that we saw, I'm surprised. Like all the Subarus did finish, but some of them bypassed some of the water crossings, I think. But there was a full
Okay.
size class, a Subaru class, a side by side class, and a moto class.
Oh, moto is crazy.
Those guys
That's
are the true legends.
they
24
are
hours of scrotum bashing.
yeah. Their great grandkids are feeling it and they're not even
Oh
born
yeah,
yet.
yeah. So they've worked out the release schedule and all that throughout the events that have happened like since then. But we were released in order of tire size, and so the Subarus were at the very end. It was bigger tires first, trail brake through the snow and whatnot,
Okay.
and smallest
Okay.
tire size last. And it was mostly just dirt roads, like country roads, no obstacles whatsoever. But then we got to, I think, is it Somerville or something like that? I don't know, kind of like southwestern West Virginia, where I got some video on my Instagram where water's coming up over my hood, blocking out the headlights, something like that. Like there were 4 or 5
Oh, I
water
saw
crossings
that.
back to back. Yeah, so that
Yeah, I
got
saw
pretty
that.
deep. I didn't have a snorkel during that at all, but we were having problems like no mechanical problems, but I was having issues where the car electrically would just die like occasionally.
Some
Come to
moisture?
find out afterwards that my battery terminals like were loose. Not that I didn't tighten them all the way, because I actually did tighten them as far as they would go, but the metal of the terminal connectors themselves had just worn out so that I couldn't tighten them tight enough. But we would just stop and like turn the car off, turn it back on, it would go again. And we get like, 50 miles down the road, do the same thing. So we were having those kind of issues.
I just had this issue.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll butt in real quick on that. The solution to that was those little cam lock lever
Oh,
terminal connectors that are like
okay.
$10 on Amazon. Those things are incredible for that because you
Yeah,
can adjust them.
they've got that screw. It's like a screw thing with a latch almost,
Cam
right?
lever.
You just
Yep.
boom. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Oh,
But that was,
gonna have
again,
to
like I
order
said, that was
those.
my first event of any kind like that. Like Dan and I are just trying to stay awake as best we can. I have anxiety and I was stressing out hard. I had to swap out with him. I'd never had anyone else driving my car before. So like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure, even though like of all people to drive my car, Dan, like the guy who built the
Yeah.
armor on the car, the guy who
Yeah.
rallies Subarus specifically, like this is the guy to do it. And I was just like tense the whole time trying to co-drive for him. I couldn't really give him rally notes. I was a little bit, but I'm not used to doing that. Yeah, and then doing that for like 21 hours. We ended up finishing in 21 hours 6 minutes, I think. So even we got first in the
Dang.
Subaru class, but there were only
Okay.
six. There were only 6 cars in the Subaru class, but our time was second best of all full size vehicles.
Let's go. Dude,
Yeah.
I knew it. I knew it.
Yep. The only guys who got faster than us, I think they broke the speed limit quite a bit. Like their max speed on Gaia, I think it was like upwards of 80 miles an hour in some
Oh.
places. I don't think they made as many wrong turns as we did because at night, like when the dust is up there and you're flying through with Gaia, like
Mhm.
sometimes you miss a turn. And some of these roads, like on the base map of Gaia, they don't exist. Like it's just the line
Oh.
that you have, the route you're given, and it's like, is that a road? Is that a trail? And like some of the stuff didn't even look like a road. And we come to find out by the end of the race, or not a race, by the end of the rally, we were telling ourselves, yeah, this is totally some shit that Jeb would do. Oh, that where we're going? Yeah, yeah, Jeb would make us go down there.
Yes.
And that was actually the route. So you never really knew what he was going to have you do. So that was the first event. And then that was such a huge success that they did a second event that was a loop as opposed to point that
Okay.
started and ended in Hinton, West Virginia. It was called Miners and
Okay.
Loggers Delight. And a few more obstacles on that one that we didn't have any issues with because I'd done most of them with the guys at Camo. I'd been over all those obstacles already, so I was kind of familiar with them. But I did bash my rock sliders in a few places on that, and we finished that one in just over 17 hours. Again, second place in the full size class.
Nice.
Yeah.
What are the rigs that beat you those 2 years?
So there's this guy, Eric Miller, who
Okay.
races and wins Ultra 4 at King of the
Oh,
Hammers.
dude.
Yeah, so I lost to him. I don't care. That's fine. I'm not competing at that level. I can't
I'll
compete at that level. Like, he had an 80-gallon extra gas tank in the back of his Jeep, so he wasn't stopping for gas. Like,
yeah, I'll take that L.
I'll take that. Yeah. In a 20-year-old Forester, I'll take that.
Yeah,
Um,
dude. Was he in like a JK?
yeah, built out
Okay.
JK on like 37s or 40s or something like that.
Okay.
And he was just cruising. Like, this was his element. This was his thing. And he has won
Yeah.
most of the full-size classes from or events from there. And then the last event that year, the finale, was in Kentucky on
Mm-hmm.
the Daniel Boone Backcountry Byway and sections of the Kentucky Adventure Trail. And that was the first time I'd ever been in Kentucky. Dan couldn't make that one, so
Okay.
my brother Doug hopped in as co-driver for that. And Doug had never been off-road in his life, never done any of this shit before. And like I said, I'd never been to Kentucky. He'd never been to Kentucky. We didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. For this event, I knew that since Camo had been out to Kentucky a bunch, I'd seen a bunch of their videos. I knew mud was going to be a huge factor in this, not just deep water crossings and rocks.
Yeah.
So I was a little worried about that because, with aluminum, it's got a high friction coefficient against pretty much everything. And you'll lose momentum if you hit a rock or hit mud the right
Mm.
way, something like that. So I was like, all right, what can I do to make this a little more slick? And I ended up looking at what Ultra 4 guys do and Rock Bouncer guys do, and they use HDPE as skid plates.
Yeah.
And they
Yes.
use ultra high molecular weight HDPE as skid plates. Um, but they have like a tight framework of tube steel behind it, like 1 foot spaced 2-inch tube steel and 1 inch thick HDPE. And the idea there is that it's not as rigid; it actually
Yeah.
flexes, so they can hit a rock and bounce off it and glance off it.
Mm-hmm.
So I went over to Polymer Shapes, which has a Charlotte location. Went in there and was like, "Hey guys, do you have like a 4x8 sheet of 1/8 inch HDPE?" I'm like, "What in the hell for?" Like, I want to put a skid
Trying to
plate
make
on that
cutting
and point in the
boards.
parking lot. And they're like, "That's awesome. Yes, we do." And it was like $65 for this thing. So I put this HDPE sheet on my skid plate and go out there, and we're going through mud that's like up to the doors. And the car will just flop into a mud hole. I'll feel the tires settle down, find the bottom mud hole not moving, and then all of a sudden we just start moving. Yeah, no, the friction loss on that was incredible. Like, I was able to do little
That's
Austin Powers maneuvers while resting on a rock on the middle of the skid plate, like dragging back and forth, not damaging the skid plate at all, just like scoring up the HDPE on it and going through creeks that were, I mean, the banks were probably like 8, 9 feet high. I would just ram the car up the side of the bank and get up. Sometimes I got up. One time I had to get winched out. Like, I don't know how steep it was, but I remember Doug having to climb out the side of the car, and he was stepping off the top of the B pillar and stepping on the windshield to climb up the bank to get to the winch to find a tree out there to pull me up the rest of the way to the bank. And we eventually got up, but we ended up DNFing at night when I sliced a tire on a rock, and we were only 7 hours into that event. I think we were in like third or fourth place at that point, though. Plenty of folks had already broken down at that point. We hadn't even gotten to the rocky section yet. I only have 4 tires. I can't break another one. I didn't have glue tread with me. Haven't tried that before, so we just
mm-hmm.
DNF'd ourselves at that point. Now I have 6 tires. I'm never letting that happen to me again.
Did you have to order more pepper pots?
I had to order one more. And
Okay.
if you order one at a time, it's real expensive. Like, it
Okay.
was, I think it was $200 to get that one here. Whereas like the
Okay.
batch of 5 was $700.
Yeah.
But so then we went in the following year trying to do the Seneca Rocks one again, and they ran in reverse from Mothman to Seneca Rocks. And I guess I had been kicking it too hard at Uwharrie and Kentucky and all that, because about maybe 2 hours in, the driver's side lower control arm rear bushing, the one that has the fluid filled in it, the captive nuts ripped out of the unibody. So Doug hops out and looks, and he was like, "This." And Dan was in his car behind me, and Doug was like, "So this is the end of the rally, and we have to find a way to get towed off the trail right now. Like, we're in the middle of the woods, like between two water crossings. We're not getting a tow truck out here, so we're trying to think, what the hell can we do?" And I realized that we can use the Subi Liftoz subframe drop kit to like ratchet strap this thing in place. And I get off the trail and drive 6 hours home like that.
Dude, ratchet straps are slept on by
Everyone needs
most
to carry ratchet
off-roaders.
straps and baling wire. Everybody.
Yes, I carry 2 ratchet straps at all times in my rigs. Always, man.
Yeah.
Lifesavers.
Yeah. No, but these like doing this for 24 hours. I mean, it's 24 hours if you screw up, because
Mhm.
if you're out there for after 24 hours, they make you abandon the route and come back to the
Mm,
rally point, because they don't
okay.
close these roads down. Like public traffic is still on them all day, all night, and that's why
Yeah.
like you're really not supposed to speed.
Yeah.
You're going through neighborhoods, you're going through hollers, you're going like through people's front yards. Like you got to be
Yeah.
safe. Like the eyes of the world are upon us
Yeah.
in terms of the motorsports world. Like don't screw this up for everybody else, guys.
Yeah.
So it's not a race, but you getting there faster, you do get more bragging points, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So it's just a different kind of driving for sure, because you're not just going for speed. You're like, I got to make it. I got to
Mhm.
finish. I got to not break down, or if I do break down, I got to be able to fix myself. Like there was one guy the first event who had a ball joint snap and he was stick welding it back together in the middle of the trail, kind of thing. Like, yeah, that kind of stuff.
That's so sick.
And anyone can enter. I mean, they say that the minimum tire size is 29 inches, but I'm always there at 28.3s, and I say I'm rocking 28s, like just to show everybody up, pretty much.
There's
Like, come
nothing
on, man,
wrong with
28s
that.
can do it.
Hey, and if you measure most 35s, they come out to 33.5. So
There you go.
there's always some wiggle room. Just hit the sidewall with a Sharpie, 29 inch or whatever.
Right?
Yeah, that kind of stuff. The Oregon Trail Rally is pretty prevalent out here, and I know a few people that compete in that, and that really is, if you're not a Subaru Motorsports team driver, the whole goal is we just don't want to DNF. We want to finish the race, because it's cool if you win, but if you finish, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, that's part of the challenge for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so you got to tell me about Mothman. What is, you said Mothman Rock? Is that what it is?
It's Point Pleasant is the town, and there's the
Okay.
Mothman statue,
Okay,
which
yeah.
is where the start line or finish line is, depending on which way they run it, which year they're doing it.
Okay. What is Mothman?
So Mothman, I'm gonna get this wrong, and everyone in Point Pleasant's gonna hate me for this
That's
probably.
okay. That's okay.
But
We're not
it's local lore, local legend. You can look up the statue. It's just this like silver clad statue of a guy with like a moth head, the
okay.
costume with the wings and everything. And I think
Sick.
there was some like woman who was being chased by some guy or something like that. And the Mothman, I'm abridging this harshly, like jumped out of the
Yeah.
bushes and like saved her. And it was like
Sick.
a local vigilante kind of thing for a little while.
Okay.
And he just became famous for
Oh,
the area, and folks latched onto it, and it became a tourist attraction pretty much. But
that's actually pretty sick.
so one of the traditions with the Mothman, if you see a picture from behind him, he's got these magnificent butt cheeks, and you
Oh,
can just,
really?
oh yeah, and
Oh,
you
let me
can,
zoom in.
it's a it's a tradition to like stick a quarter
Oh,
in the
I
top of
see.
the butt.
I see it right here, and I love how the wings spread just enough so you can see the gluteals.
Uh-huh.
That's lit. Have you ever experienced anything weird in the forest? Because I've heard about all the crazy Mothman lore. You ever experienced anything weird or paranormal?
I mean, no, like the weirdest thing that people will experience, I think, is not knowing that what they're hearing is a bobcat for the first time. If you've
Mm,
ever heard a bobcat, it
uh,
sounds like a banshee. Or
Dude,
like the first time I heard it
absolutely.
on a field trip, I was like, was there some like woman getting raped throughout the woods and
Yeah.
screaming continuously? Like, should I be getting out of my tent right now and like chasing
Dude.
this? Or like, what's going on here? It sounds like someone screaming, like a
Yeah.
blood curdling scream.
Mhm.
And if you don't know what that is, like now it's like, oh, it's a bobcat. That's not even a danger. It's a little kitty cat. Like they're not going to
Yeah.
come by. They don't want anything to do with us. They're
Yeah.
close by because we're in our tents, not making noise anymore. Um, that's about it. I mean, nothing really too exciting. No Bigfoot, nothing like that.
Dang.
No, no hearing my name being called through the trees.
Right?
None of that.
Those,
No, you
what
didn't hear anything kind of thing.
what do they call those things? There's skinwalkers, but the one that, oh, maybe it is just a banshee. I can't remember, but I
Hi, skinwalkers is one thing. Like
I love
there's
that stuff.
there's a lot of lore surrounding the Appalachian Mountains because it's one of the oldest mountain chains on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
The Appalachians are older than the continents. They are from the time of Pangea, like the Scottish Highlands and the Atlas Mountains in Africa are the same mountains as the Appalachian Mountains.
Huh.
So they've been
Okay.
around for a long time, older than the dinosaurs. So there's people who say that there's things that predated the dinosaurs that just never left because the place
Yeah.
where they lived has been here the whole time and there's been nothing. That's where a lot of the lore comes from, I think.
Like about a 45-minute drive from where I grew up. If you look on a map of all the Bigfoot reports,
Oh yeah,
there's a hot spot, like literally the most that take place of people saying they had an experience is literally right there, all within like a 50-mile radius in the Gifford Pinchot National Forest. And I have no idea what I actually think about any of that stuff, but I think it's super enjoyable and entertaining. It's
yeah. I mean, there's like stories from I think the Choctaw tribe that talk about these large, fuzzy
dude,
creatures that they went to war with early on,
yeah,
long before any white people got here, that
yeah,
fit the description of Bigfoot. And I mean, it's just there was no written language at that time. It was just verbally passed
passed down.
down. Lends credence to it in some way.
I was never like, oh yeah, I totally believe in any of this stuff. But what first actually made me think, well, maybe these people are actually not crazy was when I started hearing people talk about how there were all these accounts in different Native American tribes of like, wait, you don't know about this? Everybody knows
Right.
about this. Like, are you stupid?
Yeah.
or even skinwalkers, that's like a big, Native American thing,
Yeah,
which
like was it a myth they were using or was it an actual story that happened? Like, they've been
yeah.
around for 10, 15, 20,000 years. Like,
Hmm.
seriously.
I always think that stuff is sick, like just because it's just entertaining and like really intriguing to me. So I don't care if it's true or not. I just like it.
Yeah. We got plenty of folks who think they see Bigfoot over here in the UREs.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's Bigfoot
sick.
festivals over here.
Okay.
I have
Yeah,
no
we get
idea.
that too. I totally misspoke earlier when I was talking about that Dex J's guy, talking about the mud. He was actually at Windrock. I don't know
Okay.
how I got that mixed up, but it sounds like the same type of and by looking at your videos and his, same type of thing. I
Yeah,
think
Windrock
that's
is
like,
huge. I mean, it's same
yeah,
kind of setup. I've never been, but that's considered the hardest wheeling in the east of the Mississippi.
it looked pretty crazy from his videos.
I got to get out there at some point, but it's like 5, 6 hours from me, and there's so much other
Yeah,
stuff closer. It's just hard to put. Like that's a long weekend to get out there, or it's got to be 5, 6 days. Folks have said to make it worth it, and I just don't
yeah,
really have that time, honestly. Like this isn't the only thing I do. My wife and I like to backpack and camp.
yeah. It's the same for me, man. Where I grew up, it was like, look, I live 30 minutes from some of the sickest off-road trails in the Pacific Northwest. Why would I ever make a 4-hour trip to Moon Rocks or to, up to the, boat ramp at Elby or whatever? Like, I don't need to do that. I could literally go right up the road.
Yeah,
So it's
as
kind of a
cool as it'd be to
blessing and a
go
curse.
like to Joshua Tree or Moab, like
Hmm.
that's 30 hours, 36 hours
Yeah.
from me.
If I was a multi-millionaire, I would, just load my rigs up onto a trailer and have somebody drive them out. But
Yeah,
I don't have 3 weeks to go mess around and probably break stuff and cut my trip short. I'm good. Like, oh,
yeah.
cool. Now you're stranded in Moab. That's sick.
So I started a small business making quick disconnect end links for the rear of my car.
Oh,
Just like
okay.
honestly, it's just I've only sold like 5 sets, but it's really just like so I can write off the mileage for my 24-hour events. Honestly, like I'm not trying to make too much money on it or anything like that. Um, I haven't found a really good way to do the front sway bar disconnects yet that doesn't like get in the way or isn't a pain
Okay.
to use. And honestly, I wouldn't recommend anyone use the rear disconnects unless they have coilovers or if they have the front sway bar connected. Because
Okay.
if on stock suspension, if you have the front disconnected and the rear connected, you can fishtail it pretty easy if you're like in a panic brake situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they work really, really well. I mean, it's
Hmm.
pretty easy. It's just bent steel plate with holes drilled that goes in the bottom of the on the link location on the control arm, and it uses the SH stock end link, so it's really cheap parts.
What's your mechanism for disconnection?
It's just a square latch pin, a 3-inch square latch
Sick.
pin. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, dude, that's rad. Where can people find those actually? Because I'm all about letting people shout out with the stuff they're doing.
I'm only on Facebook, and I do everything like through QuickBooks, so it's just Rocky River Overland.
Okay.
And I have on there like the models that it fits. It's mostly just the older models. There's like the SG Foresters, SFs, all the Bajas it'll fit, and I think it's like '02 to '07 out or 2000 2007 Outback it'll fit.
Okay.
But it's really niche. Like, most people, if
Yeah.
they're going down this route, they just delete the sway bars entirely, and I get
Hmm.
that. But I
Yeah.
keep my rear sway bars connected. Like my front is off the car completely. It gets in the way. It'll the front sway bar even disconnected will contact the tie rods at max droop. So there's no point in me
Absolutely.
having it on there.
Yeah.
But with how stiff the front is with the coilovers, the car is stable on the highway, even in panic braking and turning with the rears connected, and it behaves less like a boat because like with 175 springs on there, it sways a little bit, but folks who are running coilovers with 250 or 300, they won't have that problem. So they won't even need to think about these things. They delete the rear sway bar entirely. But yeah, that
Yeah.
was just something that it was just one of those things where I was just lying under my car staring at it for like an hour. Like, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way
Yeah.
to do this and it not make it cost like $200. And a handful of folks who are running them are happy with them. But again, it's not a
Dude,
lot of
that's
folks are
what's
going to want
up.
them,
Bro,
admittedly.
yeah, I had no idea you were doing those. That's super
I don't really
gangster.
advertise them too much because, like I said, like not a lot of folks are going to want them. It's like a halfway point in a lot of people's builds.
Hmm.
But I
Do you
mean, the folks who run them like them.
do you have an Instagram for them?
No, not specifically. I've mentioned them in one post on my Instagram. I don't know if I can ever figure out something for any of the newer Subarus because there's Rally Tech disconnects,
Yeah.
but those when I'm designing quick disconnect end links, I want them to be pretty serviceable, very easy to
Hmm.
use, cheap, and with no failure points.
Yeah,
And I
and
also
not
don't
make a
want them
bunch
to
of
make any
noise.
noise, no noise
Yeah.
at all. Yeah, these rear ones don't make any noise at all. That's one of the things with them. It's very tight fit, but they're also very easy to get on and get off.
Yeah.
I've got some ideas for the fronts on the newer cars, but working out production, I just don't know these things. If someone knew more about like machining production that is not requiring a batch of 100
Yeah.
and knowing how to
Yeah.
use CAD, like I don't know how to use CAD.
Me
Um,
neither. Not yet.
yeah. So I'm limiting myself by what I don't know, I guess.
Will you make an Instagram though for those? That way I could share them.
Yeah, sure.
Because there's still a huge community of us that are. I mean, the SG is going to become one of the most off-roaded Subarus before long, in my opinion. Like it's
If it's not
one of
already,
the best
yeah.
platforms. Like it's at least for people that are actually off-roading, like overlanding's a little bit different, and God bless those people, but it's not quite the same as taking something that's 20 years old, just beat the brakes off of it.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them, dude. I would not want to beat up a $35,000, cross track or whatever.
But I mean, like we were saying earlier, for something that is as capable as it is and has salvage yard serviceable, like the parts are as cheap
Hmm.
as they are, it's as easy to work on as it is, as trail serviceable as it is. Like if you're gonna break something, this is the car to break.
What do you think you have in this car money wise, if you feel
I know
comfortable
exactly how
sharing?
much. I have a spreadsheet
Perfect.
going to keep track of it.
You know what? I should have known. I should have known.
Yeah. Just shy of excluding the cost of the car, just shy of $13,000.
Okay.
And that's
And
including like
that's
custom work and parts and everything.
mhm. And that's over what, 5 years?
5 years, yeah.
Yeah, dude, you know what? That sounds like a big number to people probably, but I'll tell you right now that like the people I know in the FJ80 world, like the Toyota Land Cruisers, straight axle swap Toyotas, all that stuff. I mean, those dudes, they probably got like 70K in the car after, buying the thing. Off-roading is expensive, and
Yeah.
if you've got something that's been able to do the stuff you're doing, 13 grand in mods, some
Yeah.
of the best stuff is not bad, dude. That's
And like, some of the comments I get from real off-roaders who like it bruises people's egos just seeing what I do sometimes. I think it's hilarious because I'm never
yeah,
trying to
same.
like jab at people, but like it's like
Yeah.
goodbye to your differentials. I'm like, I'll pay $75 a salvage yard for a new
Oh,
diff. Like
dude.
the whole thing, not just the ring and pinion, not just the carrier, like the diff out of the car, bolted in, we're
Yeah.
ready to go. Transmission,
Yep.
$300. Engine,
Yeah.
$400. Like, who
Seriously.
cares? Alternator,
Yeah.
$30. Like, what's the problem here?
And they're so, you said that they're very serviceable on the trail, and you were not wrong. The most recent episode that I released with Dan, we
That was a great
talk about
episode.
that. Oh, dude, that guy is he's a good dude. If you ever are in Arizona, I would definitely stop by and say what's up. I need to make my way back out there, but that dude is so full of knowledge. Like
Yeah.
he's forgotten more stuff in the last 5 years than I will probably ever know.
I love
But
that
we talked,
expression.
yeah, we talked about that, and they get such a bad rap because they're weird. There's not a lot of Porsche Boxsters. Yeah, those had a horizontal engine, but man, aside from the spark plugs being in somewhat of a tight spot, everything is easy to change on these cars.
Yeah, and he even
Alternator,
said it.
boom.
He even said it on there. Everything's on top. So like
Yeah,
one of the things that was a problem for some of the folks during the Mothman, since it's in the winter, is alternators on most of these bigger rigs are on the bottom.
they're on the side and they're blocked by the frame rail.
Yeah, so they
Pisses
get
me
in
off, dude.
water, they get plugged up with mud, they freeze.
Mm-hmm.
If you kill one or like knock a wire off of it somehow, you're getting under the car and disassemblies have to change it. Ours is right
Yeah.
there waiting for you, right in the middle.
And it's like a few bolts. You literally just have to undo the tensioner, zip the long bolt for the tensioner way up,
Yep,
slide the belt off. And that's
5 minutes.
if you have dude, it's so easy.
Yeah,
Like, okay, yeah, you unhooked your battery, big deal. And you got to pull the fan or the belt shroud off, but that's nothing,
yeah.
dude.
But if you get those little like cam lock terminal connectors, then disconnect the battery is not even a thing. It's just like boop, done, out of here.
Dude, exactly. Hey, will you send me after this? Will you send me a link to the ones you bought specifically,
Yeah, I
if you
think I
have
got them
it?
in my
Okay.
build bio, but yeah, I'll definitely send them.
Oh, you got them, dude. That's right.
I
I'll just
think
go
I
in
don't
there
know.
and find
I might if I don't, I should have them on there because that's like a critical mod I think for most people.
dude. I need because the thing is those terminals are just not good. The cable terminals from the chassis on Subarus.
Yeah,
Our cars are old, but they just are not that good of quality, in my opinion, after having this problem with multiple Subarus.
I agree.
Any mods that you want to do to the car that you haven't had a chance to do yet, or even just the thing's pretty freaking built, but let's just say you had a blank check or something. What are some things you would want to do to the car?
If I had a blank check, so I've tossed around the idea.
Portals?
No, not portals, but like I really would like to run 29-inch tires.
Okay.
But what's keeping me from doing that now is power, because like these
Mm-hmm.
28s are the top of the power to size balance that I think I'd want. So I'd either need to find a way to get more power out of the engine, but that's eating at reliability,
Mm-hmm.
or I can H6 swap it. That's the thing. Like, do a proper H6 swap with a proper harness merge, do it the right way so that it behaves stock, so that I can like actually service it.
Mm-hmm.
If something goes wrong and I don't know what I'm doing, I can take it to a shop and say, this has a 6-cylinder in it. Just treat it like a 6-cylinder car.
It's a
And these,
2003 Outback.
right.
Treat it as
That's what
such.
that's what I would want to do. Yeah, like the hard way, not the easy way. Make the dash work,
Yeah.
make all that work. Otherwise, what else would I want to change about it? Really, just get a little more power out of it. The
Yeah,
reliability is there. Like that's the biggest thing with these 24-hour events that I've noticed is like you got to keep it reliable. Like
mm-hmm.
there is people who are straight up losing wheels, who are losing axles, who are like their alternators are exploding, their power steering pumps are failing, and like I can carry all those parts. I can replace all that.
Most people are just driving their car to the coffee shop or to school or whatever. They have no idea when you subject a car to extreme conditions, you really see what they're made of.
Oh yeah.
24 hours of driving, that'll expose weak points real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Brake fluid boils, your clutch starts to wear, all these different things that you
Yeah.
would never do.
So that's you mentioned brake fluid. One of the problems that a lot of the full size rigs were having with these much larger tires is
Mm-hmm.
they were having their not even the brake fluid, their brake pads were wearing out before they would finish the event because
So
of
much
how much
heat.
so much heat from the rotational weight of the wheel and from the weight of the vehicle they're having to stop that. I have run every single 24-hour event on the same brake pads
Yeah.
so far. I haven't changed them yet. They're not even halfway worn yet. Like keeping the
Yeah.
wheels light, keeping the vehicle light. Guys are constantly having to like mark their suspension nuts because they're going to rattle them apart going over these potholes
Mm-hmm.
on these trails. I've never had one come loose.
Oh, dude.
Independent
Independent.
suspension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, independent suspension's not good for rock crawling, but it's sick for going fast
Yeah, but
and
because
feeling
it's not good for
comfy.
rock crawling, it's that much more fun when you can make it do these
Yeah,
things.
exactly.
Like, why would I want? I had a reel about that. Why would I want to get a real 4x4? It's so much more fun making this thing do stuff it is definitely not supposed to do.
Yeah, you probably heard me say before, it's that same sensation of it's way more fun to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow,
Yes,
like
yes, yes, yes.
really like pushing the piss out of a Subaru on a trail that another Subaru has never been on is a way better feeling than when I'm crawling the XJ up some stupid rock garden. It's
But you
cool,
know it
but
can do. Yeah,
exactly,
and if you're trying to
exactly.
make it challenging, you got to do something silly.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's say they're in the market for a Subaru or they've already bought one and they want to start taking it off pavement. Let's say they got $4,000. What would be some of the first, you know, real needle movers? Because again, I think you're probably one of the most intuitive and thoughtful people when you're doing modifications. Just the stuff I've seen from you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I mean that. Um, so I think you would probably be the right person to ask, and you watch Power of Your Brains, like those same
Those
type of
guys.
people. They're
Yeah.
looking for stuff that's going to work. They're not like, oh, I want to get these because it makes my car look cool. And that's fine. You can mod your car to look cool. But what would be some of the um, first things that somebody who's maybe not super mechanically inclined or that's just trying to get out there and get started, what would be some of the mods you would tell them to start trying to pick up?
Well, 4 grand will get you a long way, especially in these older cars.
Absolutely.
For the older cars, like that have the 4 EAT and even the 5 EAT and not the CVT, I would
Great.
say, you know, 2-inch lifts, just a spacer lift, skids, tires, obviously, just I think 28-inch is the way to go. If you
Hmm.
got a 6-cylinder or a turbo, you can do 29, I think, with lightweight wheels. And when I say lightweight wheels, I don't mean necessarily getting these pepper pots. Like just those 2002 WRX wheels, they are
Yeah.
everywhere. They are so
Those are
easy to
only
find.
16 pounds, I think,
Yep,
right?
that's right,
Yeah.
16 and a half pounds.
Yeah. Why that
That
stuck in my brain, I don't know, but I
was it from that one Naziok thread, the master wheel thread?
no, it's because I had a set on an SF a while ago, and I think I weighed them at one point,
Yeah,
and they were 16 to 16 and a half, depending on the wheel weights per
yeah.
that were stuck on them.
So all that right there is about $2,000 worth of stuff,
Hmm.
and well, and then a torque locker, which would put it like $2,300, something like that. Um, Even if someone's not mechanically inclined, if you're willing to turn a wrench and you've got a torque wrench, you can do the VTD swap. You can do it. It
Mm.
is bolt up. Like you're
Yeah,
just
you're just
taking the.
pulling the tail shaft of the transmission off, and
That's it.
boop.
There's
Yeah.
no other mods. There's no other mods at all. The hard part is finding the VTD. That's it.
Hmm.
Um, like I said before, I don't know if the WRX torque converter is worth it. Like Dan swapped one into his car and he didn't notice the difference at all.
Okay.
I just did it for the hell of it. So I wouldn't recommend doing that because then you're like splitting the case and all that.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
pain in the ass. And I mean, like I said, after all that, you're not even at $3,000. Do rock sliders.
Let's go.
Do rock sliders. That I mean, even if it's not even the bars, even if it's just finding someone who can weld and who can actually weld onto really thin unibody sheet metal,
Hmm.
just get that steel angle on there. And because you're trying to set the car up not to not hit things, but to survive hitting things.
Yes, to
Yeah.
intentionally survive hitting things.
Yes. And then get yourself 2 spare rear axles and 1 spare front axle. They are, for most of these cars, there's some differences on some years, but for most of
Hmm.
them, they are symmetrical on each side.
Very interchangeable.
The part number is different. There's like an A and a B, and like there's a little groove in the axle or something like that to differentiate them. But I've used both on both sides and never had anything leak. It
Perfect.
doesn't matter. You don't have to keep track or anything like that. And then I wouldn't even say a snorkel, and just the breathers are like change,
Yeah.
just do that.
Okay.
And that's it. Carry an extra air filter with you.
Oh, I was going to ask, where would a set of good gauges for monitoring temperature and then cooling mods come into play for most people that are, running some sort of an automatic transmission, whether CVT 5 or 4 EAT?
So, I did all the cooling mods up front, just like
Okay.
as a preventative thing.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing what John Shimbersky, he's Subaru Off-Road Adventures on Instagram and Facebook. He's running the stock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know him. Yeah, so he's
Yeah.
running the stock radiator, stock I think he's running a stock thermostat. I would not get an aftermarket thermostat, keep it OEM. But he's
Yes.
just running the
Agreed.
stock radiator, and he has a transmission cooler that's in line with the cooler that's in the bottom of the stock radiator. But
Mm-hmm.
unless you're turning like larger tires, I don't even think you need the transmission cooler. But for gauges, just get a scan gauge. It's
Yeah.
$200. And so he actually figured out that you can, a lot of people on the Nabisco forums and the Old Forester forums say that you cannot get our cars to read transmission temperature through the scan gauge. You can. There is a code if you have the 14.5.3 firmware update, the most recent one, whatever that is, that number may be
Okay.
wrong. There is a code that will let you read transmission fluid temperature. He is running it, and he gave me the code, and it works. Yeah,
You
so
running
you don't need any
scan
extra
gauge?
gauges. Scan
Yeah.
gauge 2. Yep.
Okay, I was gonna ask if it was scan gauge too. That's what's up. And you know what, man? Those things are so sick, especially for the people in the CVTs, and and even new Subarus because they don't give you a needle. They just say, "Oh, now you're effed."
Yeah.
You just get the warning light when it's too late.
Yep.
It's such a, for some people they might get neurotic about it, but I just
Hmm.
think it's such a vital thing to be able to see when you're starting to get into muddy
Yeah.
waters. Like,
See
okay,
when
time to
temperature's starting to move, not when it's at
e-
your oh shit point already.
exactly, like time to take a break.
Yeah, and I wouldn't spend a ton of money on a radio. Like, I mean, I've got a Midland 275
Hmm.
with a ghost mount. I have it like dead center on the top of the car, just so I can get that big old ground plane. But on these 24-hour events, I pick up so much radio chatter with that thing because it has such a great ground plane, such great reception that it's annoying. Like I thought about moving it to get worse reception because there's some guys on there who, everyone's on the same channel for recovery purposes, but there's some guys who like think they're tour guides or something and they like will not shut up. Like, guys,
I
keep the channel clear. This is an event.
I hate that.
We got like there's a
I
dog in the road. I'm calling out like, guys, dog, mile 375.2, don't hit it kind of thing. And there's other folks calling
wow.
that kind of stuff out too. Like, so like I would just get I don't know what that Midland radio is offhand. It's like the black one that everyone gets. It's like $50 or something. Like you're not trying to, for most of the events that you're doing, even on group rides, maybe if you're in the desert, this is different. You're trying to talk to someone 100 feet away from you. And you
Yeah.
probably don't want to talk to someone 3 miles away from you because, like, in most cases, this is not Australia. We don't wheel like they do in Australia. We're not putting
Yeah.
miles between our rigs. It's, you know, most times you're trying to keep eyes right ahead of you and right behind you. You want to see those rigs, and
Yeah.
any radio will work. Like, just get a handheld and mount it in the rig somewhere, and then if you want
Yeah.
to get a hard mount, then do that. Also, I mean, I run a CB as well as a GMRS, and
Okay.
I got the CB first just because I thought that's what everybody used, and then found out that no one uses
Nobody.
that at
Yeah.
all. That was like a secret that I haven't really told anybody about with in these 24-hour events. Some people will get held up by truck traffic on these back roads or
Mm.
like combine traffic, like
Okay.
a farmer moving their combine
Oh
through,
yeah.
and they sometimes use CBs. And I'll be like, "Hey, lowboy driver, hey, combine driver, is there anyone behind you? Is there anyone coming up behind you? Can we get rigs through here?" And they'll say, "No, you're good," or "Yeah, actually, I'm waiting for someone." And they're at this point right now. I'll radio to them and tell them to wait for you guys or something like that. That's happened like twice. So I would say don't waste your money on a CB.
Maybe one or two of the most overrated things that you see people putting on their Subarus right now, where you see it and you're like, ah, another one.
Uh, I'm not a fan of rooftop tents. Like on the last Ohio 24-hour event, someone knocked their rooftop tent off
Yep.
on a
Yep.
low-hanging tree,
Yeah.
and so I've not slept in one. So if you like it, just ignore me.
Yeah.
But on a lot of campsites, finding a spot that's perfectly level or level enough so that you don't feel like if you've ever slept in an unlevel location, it's weird. Even if it's 5 degrees off, you're gonna end up like slouching downhill, sliding downhill throughout the night.
Yeah.
It's heavy. It kills gas mileage.
Yeah.
Um, but if you like it, you like it, and just tell me to go to hell. I don't know.
Well, and some people actually use them, but I agree, man. There's so many people that use them once a year. And it's
Yeah,
like, well, you just burnt $500 extra gas in the last 6 months having that thing,
Yeah, and then
and it cost
maintaining
you
them,
$4,000.
clean them off, drying them out, like
Yep. Yeah.
just general maintenance. Like a ground tent, I would not recommend one of those. Oh, well, that's one thing that I don't like either. Those gazelle tents. Um,
Okay.
they're cheap, but they're also heavy, and they don't pack down very small.
What
And
are they?
if it a gazelle tent,
I've never used one. What the heck is that?
you've definitely seen one. It looks like a giant orange cube. It's like big in the overland
Okay.
community if you want to have a ground tent. But
Okay.
they pitch very quick and they're very spacious. But they have an integrated rain fly, and if the rain is coming any direction except straight down,
Straight down.
you're getting rain inside the tent. I've camped with a few guys who use them, and they're just like, yeah, you got to use cots inside to stay off the ground,
Okay.
otherwise you're getting water on you. And then I also think like people chasing the biggest tire size. Sure, it looks great, but I mean, unless if you're trying to climb much of anything,
You run out of power.
you're running out of power, running out of gas. Like
Hmm.
you're bringing heat to the car where it doesn't need to be heated up. You're going to wear out
Yeah.
your axles faster. Like,
Well, I was just going to say I'm running 29s, and I tell people all the time, don't run this tire size.
yeah,
Just don't. I know you guys are going to do it, but I'm telling you, you don't need to.
yeah,
It's you get way more benefit out of being able to turn your wheels than you do a bigger tire.
yeah. And like
My
you said,
opinion.
picking the line. Yeah, yeah. I mean, everything else, like, you know, everything else is just preference. Build your own rig.
Hmm.
Build the way you like it. It's important to when you park your car to turn around and smile at it and get that
Yep.
feeling. Like, and then use it the way you want to use it. Like, don't build it the way someone else has built it just because you think that's cool if you're not going to use it for that. Like, this is
Yeah.
not a cheap hobby.
Not at
And
all, dude. You don't have
yeah,
money to be satisfying other people's preferences.
right, yeah. So I guess that's another thing is like you were saying earlier, don't just go out and get coilovers because you think you need
Yeah.
them. Work your way up to it. Like back yourself into a corner on it.
Yes. And I the thing for me why I'm so adamant about that of telling people, "Hey, you probably don't need this," is because I've heard so many people say, "I wanna lift my Subaru, but I wanna do it the right way." It might not
I
be
got a gripe
the
with that. Like
dude, it
I
pisses because these aren't 4x4s,
and so you would
you know?
understand that most
Yes,
because the spatial lift is the wrong way to do it for the
with a
suspension geometry
4x4.
of 4x4s. Yeah.
100%. Whether it's a coil spacer or a body spacer, horrible idea in most applications on a body on frame. But on these cars, it's not even remotely the same thing. Like
Right. As long as you get
it's
one of the quality ones like 80 or Subi Lift-Oz, or there might be another one that has the camber
Rally
brake casting
Tech.
correction in them.
Yeah,
Rallytech, any of those guys, it's going to drive the same, if not better, than stock
yeah.
height.
Yeah, and it's so hard to beat OEM Subaru suspension in terms of reliability because I'm finding that so many Subaru owners um, are very clueless to how off-roading works. Off-roading breaks stuff. Off-roading introduces a lot of complications into your maintenance routine. It just adds a lot. Whereas people in the Forerunner community, Jeep community, they know that every time they go off-roading, probably going to break something, And so I'm just always telling people like, I know you are probably going to buy this and be pissed that you find out later, oh, I have to rebuild these every 40,000 miles, or oh,
Yeah.
like, oh, I broke it. Well, of course you broke it. You just sent your car through a rock pile, dude. Okay, most important question. Has anybody ever told you that you look like Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr.?
What? No. I've got
No.
no. I had oh, what was that NASCAR driver's name? Jimmy Johnson's pit crew approached me and said, you look just like Jimmy Johnson, right?" Like, what? No.
Now I gotta look. Now I gotta look it up. Oh, now my phone's restarting itself. I guess I can't look anything up. That's stupid. Yeah, that's funny. And it may be just because we're over, a video call. But yeah, dude, you look like Iron Man, bro. You're like
That's a first. Maybe it's just the
ready to get
lighting.
down.
I don't know.
Okay, that's what's up.
That's
Okay,
funny.
and then you did mention anxiety earlier. Uh, is that something that you deal with like pretty regularly?
Yeah, especially lately. Like I've
Hmm.
had problems with like panic attacks lately,
Oh,
but
dude.
that and just learning what that's actually like for the first time. But that has kind of been a strength in my build, I think, because I have anxiety about using my car all the time. So I've built it so that either
Overbuilt.
Right. Well, either
Yeah,
overbuilt or make it easy to fix. Like, I either want something to be protected to where it can't break, or when it does, I know how to fix it. It's easy to fix, cheap to fix, and I've done it before. Like, I've practiced it in my
absolutely.
driveway. Like, I know that not a lot of folks have places to work on their cars, but if you buy like an old Forester or an older Outback and you go to wheel it, like I do think there's value in just completely disassembling suspension, get every bolt loose, take it out, lube it up, put it back. Right. You
Yeah.
don't want to be fighting rusted hardware on the trail. You want everything to be stupid easy on the trail.
Yeah. If you can't do it in an AutoZone parking lot, you're not going to be able to do it on a 15-degree angle messed up trail. And actually, it's always going to be the worst location. That's
Oh, okay.
Murphy's
Speaking of a
law.
jack,
Let's
so
go there.
jacks,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't use I people love high lifts. I don't think they have any place for
I don't.
Subarus
I
because
don't like them.
they're super heavy. So I used to use a bottle jack, but it's heavy, and I found that depending on what your lift height is, if your tire is flat or say your wheel totally falls off the car, you then
Hmm.
can't get the bottle jack under the car to jack it up because it's too tall.
Oh, that is true. I haven't run into that. Okay, put me on some game here. I need more. I need
Yeah,
more ideas.
so spiral jacks.
Okay.
The
Okay.
the stock or F-150 Ram Chevy Silverado, this is their stock jack. It's only about, I don't know, 6, 7 inches tall, and it's a
Okay.
gear-driven telescopic jack. And they're
Yes,
like
I've.
40 to 60 bucks on Amazon, or you can just steal
Okay.
one out of a work truck or something like that, like I did. And
Thank
it'll
you.
lift it 17 inches. You just put a little block of wood under as a base, and they're super light, super reliable, don't need any maintenance. And
Hmm.
I combine that. I carry two other scissor jacks, the stock scissor jack in the car,
Okay.
not for lifting the car, but like so for my coilovers, they droop farther than the suspension will droop. So
Yeah.
sometimes I need that jack to, yes, lift up the hub so
Hmm.
I'm not fighting it to position it. And then
Yeah.
I
Ask me
have,
how I know.
yeah, and then I have another larger truck scissor jack, like a 5,000 pound truck jack, just in case I got to lift something else up. Like, say the car's
Okay.
falling over, I can't get the spiral jack under there. Scissor jacks are light and they're slim, and you can get them under in really tight spaces. Um, John Shimbersky uses what's the AGM scissor jack? It's like a much
Okay.
larger scissor jack that you can put it. You're not supposed to, but you can put an impact on it, and it'll jack the car up faster than anything out there. But
Okay.
they're large and they're kind of heavy, but they're also pretty nice, but very stable.
Hmm.
And get wheel chocks.
Yes.
Don't
Yes.
plan to find the perfect rock that's not going to slip. Like, get the really high angle rubber wheel chocks. They don't weigh that much. They're pretty cheap, and get two of them.
They're $14, bro. I just bought a
Right.
set. You know, and the thing is, people don't take into account, they see this stuff on Instagram and they think, oh, this is just a fun hot. No, dude, we're playing with heavy equipment. And
Hmm.
if you're stupid, you can die and end up on a t-shirt.
Do anything you can to not get under the car. Like when you're
Yeah.
changing axles, for instance, I used to use a slide hammer because I don't want to get under there
Yeah.
with a pry bar to get it out. I saw an ad on Instagram for this little like breaker bar, little hook attachment that you can
Okay.
just stick
Just
on the side of
pop
the
them
axle,
out.
just pop them out,
Oh,
and
I love that.
now I don't have to carry a 5 pound slide hammer in
Pry
the car
bar.
anymore. But you're
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
getting under the car. Like, as much as you can avoid getting under the car, because you can take all the precautions in the world. Somehow that car can slip, and now you're toast.
And you're in the middle of nowhere. You might be by yourself. And even if you got somebody there with you, you don't have all the equipment to rip a
Right.
car off somebody, and your head's probably already crunched.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like I was saying with like anxiety being a strength, like always think about what's the worst that can happen and prepare for that. Like,
Yeah.
always carry water in the car for
Hmm.
either drinking or
Coolant.
cooling. Or yeah, that was one of the things with the 24-hour events. I researched like what do 24-hour Le Mans drivers do to prepare for these things, and they say the number one thing is to drink more water than you think you need to. Like, yes,
Huh.
you're going to have to pee, but you're going to lose performance and focus from being dehydrated.
Yeah.
And that's going to cost you way more time than like having to pee a few times.
Most people hide it well. I hid it real. I had crippling anxiety as a kid. Um, but a lot of people deal with it and panic attacks, dude. And uh, it's crazy because you can't control it. It's not like you're thinking I'm worried. It's like,
Your body's just doing it.
it, exactly. Well, and your body's having a response trying to keep you safe, but it's like you're having a short circuit of some sort. You got any advice for people on how to deal with this? Because there are people out there, man. They're really um, they're going through it, bro. It
Yeah,
sounds
I
like you
mean,
found a way to use it to your advantage, but
yeah, like when I'm getting to the point where there's like an actual panic attack, I do have beta blockers for that, and there's
oh, nice,
yeah, just the weak
love it.
ones though, like 10 milligram
Hmm.
propanolol kind of thing, and that's been very helpful. But like I've learned there's breathing techniques you can use like that, stimulating the vagus nerve to try and calm
Yeah,
yourself down. You
Wim
like
Hof stuff, bro. Let's
yeah, yeah.
go.
You breathe
Yeah.
in and then you like full breath and you breathe out through pursed lips. So it's like labored breathing out, and you do
Mm,
like 5 in, 5 out, 5 in, 6 out, 5 in, 7 out, that kind of thing. And
hmm.
actually count. Don't rush the counts. Like you're trying to keep the focus on just counting, and you're putting pressure on the front and back vagus nerve, and it's making your heart rate drop a little bit, your anxiety go down a little bit. That helps for like low grade anxiety, if that makes sense. Therapist told me about that. Found that very helpful. Um, and then, I mean, for me, just like building away my concern, frankly. Like, oh
That's
yeah,
one way to do.
that can still totally happen, but let's be ready for it in every possible way.
Yeah, I found because I still deal with it occasionally. My biggest thing, I mean, when I was a kid, it was so bad I couldn't eat and almost didn't sleep, which is why I'm so small. And
Oh
I'm six
wow.
feet tall, but I'm tiny, dude. Like if you look at my bone structure, I'm probably like if they dig me up someday, they're gonna think I was a female. It's that bad. But I did find that whole thing of finding a logical way to kind of whether it's preparing for those things that you're having anxiety about or whatever, logic and um, reason for me was like actually thinking about like what's the worst that's really going to happen, and if that happens, how much I'll survive. Like I can
Yeah.
make this work and I'll be okay. It doesn't really make it go away. Like in the moment, you're just like,
No.
oh fudge, but it did help a little bit. But man, I got tons of empathy for people dealing with it. It's a
Yeah.
rough
Like
thing.
deep water crossings still terrify me. That's the one thing, because I'm always thinking somehow my car's going to get stuck. Somehow it's going to die. I'm going to lose
Gets
exhaust
swept.
pressure. Exactly. Oh yeah, moving water is a whole different thing. I'm just thinking about like, especially in like these 24-hour Kentucky events, like mud holes are the biggest
Oh,
thing. Like there'll be parts of the rally course at night that go through, you just see nothing but trees and tread marks, and they go
yep.
into puddles. But is that puddle 6 inches deep or is it 4 feet deep? And that happened. That
You-
happened to a few people. Like they
yeah.
sank their entire engine, had to be drug out the back, and they were pulling their spark plugs and turning the engine over to get the water out of the
Yep.
cylinders.
Yep. I've done that.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. You have done that.
Unfortunately, I did do that.
Yeah,
But again, you just prepare. You just prepare for,
yeah,
fortunately, I had all the stuff on hand to do that and literally still running that car right now. No problems.
yeah.
Runs like a
I mean,
top,
like when you're sitting on the toilet, take that time to research one of the things that you're worried
Yeah.
about. Just figure out, someone has had this problem before and has figured out a way to fix it.
Yeah.
Or if they haven't, they're like, do this to avoid doing that kind of thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, dude, I've eaten up 3 hours of your night. I appreciate the heck out of you, dude. This was a ton of fun. And like I said, you are definitely one of, your build is sick. It's good to actually finally
Thank
meet
you, man.
you. Yeah, yeah. Because I've been a massive fan, and it's rare that I see people actually doing this stuff where they're proving, yeah, my Subaru can go pretty much anywhere a 4x4 can. I see people say that, but I don't see people proving it. You're one of the few people where I'm like, dude, let's go. Like you and Milton, and there's a few other people out there that are doing it. And so it's super sick to get you on here and pick your brain. Um, Remind people of your in links. What's the name that they can find that under?
It's a Rocky River Overland. I got a Facebook page for now, and
Okay.
my email is rockyriveroverland1@gmail.com. I monitor it, but if I don't respond to you immediately, just message me again, pester me a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm
Sick.
trying.
And can you real quick give a quick just a short overview of which models that those are going to work on?
So they're going to work on, for sure, all SG 2003 to 2008. Unsure if SF, but they should. All Baja and 2000 to 2007 Outback, I believe.
Okay. Nobody's put them on Imprezas yet?
Not yet. I don't, just because I don't know anyone who really
Mm-hmm.
off-roads and prezos like that or would want that kind of application, because the SHM
Mm-hmm.
links are a little bit longer. But because they're longer, it'll work for stock height up to 4-inch lift because it works for mine. So, and all that information
Okay.
is on the Facebook page. You'll
Perfect.
know that you're in
Okay.
the right place
Right
because
on.
my car going through a mud hole is the cover photo.
Let's go. Cool. Well, yeah, like I said, some people I find are hesitant to shout their stuff out, but that's actually, it would make my day if people made money off of talking on here. So happy
Yeah,
to
man, thank you.
send people over there. So anything else before we jump off that we didn't cover that you want to shout out? You got a YouTube channel or anything?
I mean, I do, but I don't really use it much. Like,
Okay.
it's called Where the Trail Takes Me. I've put
Okay.
one video on there that anyone's watched. Really, it's just a bunch of Subarus going up this road, Hurricane Creek Road, that may never open again in North Carolina. Yeah, Helene did a
They love
number
to
on
shut
it.
stuff down, man. They love shutting stuff down and not opening
Yeah,
it up.
yeah. So I mean, I don't really post too much on there. It's just too much time. I'm not that serious about it.
Yeah.
Oh, so this is kind of random and late in the episode. I guess one thing that
Let's
I
go.
think folks shouldn't do is maybe don't hard mount a solar panel to your car, because it's, well, I mean, this may not be a thing in the desert as much, but at least on the East Coast, like I've got a solar panel that powers a fridge, like a battery is in the fridge. I don't
Okay.
have an external battery or anything like that, but being able to chase the sun around the campsite with a solar panel that you can move around,
That is brilliant. Never
because
thought
you're
of
not going to
that.
move your rig the whole time. Like, especially got a
Yeah.
rooftop tent, once you set it up, you're planted there.
Hmm.
So if you're really trying to use it, just get like a 30-foot cable and you can move the panel around if it's got a kickstand or not. And
I would have never thought of that because I've never had any real desire to go track down a solar panel. Like I said, most of my trips are pretty short,
yeah,
usually one night. Okay, good tip. I like that. And I see people doing that all the time. They're gluing them to their hoods, which is fine. But
yeah. If you like it, go for it, but it's going to ruin your paint.
yeah. Yeah, that's
It's going to
true.
rust
That's
at some
true.
point.
Absolutely. Well, dude, thanks again, man. Mr.
Yeah, thanks
Mr.
for having me.
Kaiser. Mr. Kaiser
There
as
you go.
as it's pronounced. Is that German or
German and Austrian
okay,
lineage,
okay,
yeah,
sick, dude.
and
That's
Italian
what's up.
and Irish and all that. I'm a
Who
classic
yeah.
mutt.
Same here, bro. I don't even know. I was born in West Virginia though, so it's funny
Right on.
you're doing all that stuff out there. So, but dude, thanks again, man. This was an absolute pleasure. I appreciate
Yeah,
you let me eat up your whole Friday nights.
yeah. Thank you for
It
having
was
me
a
again. This was a great honor.
dude.